Readings from Latin Verse with Notes by Curtis C. Bushnell, Ph.D. Professor of Classics in Syracuse University. Boston, Allen and Bacon, 1908. Copyright 1908 by Curtis C. Bushnell. Francisco Smalley Decano comes et amix hvnc libelum dd. Introductory note. This little book has been prepared to meet the needs of my own classes. The selections have been made primarily with reference to their literary merit, but also with the intention of introducing the student to a number of authors not usually read in the earlier portion of the college course. The notes are greatly indebted to the works named under the heading, Reference. I am under obligations to Professor E. C. Morris of Syracuse University for the correction of the manuscript of the notes, and to Mr. N. L. Wiley, Syracuse University, 1908, for assistance in proofreading. C. C. B. Syracuse, New York. Readings from Latin Verse. Classical Latin Poetry. I. Ennius. From the Annals. 1. The Lament for Romulus. Pectora fida tenet desiderium, simul intercessi sic memorant, O Romule, Romule die, quaelum te patri custodem degenerunt. O Pater, O Genitor, O sanguine disoriendum, tu produxisti nos intra laminis auras. 5. 2. Pyrrhus dismissing the prisoners without ransom. Nec me aurum pasco nec me precium dederitis, nec cauponantes bellum sed belligerens ferro, non oro, vitam cernimus utrique. Vas velit in me regner era quid ferat fers virtut experiamur. Et hoc simul accipi dictum, 5 quorum virtuti belli fortuna pepersit earundum libertati me parser certumst. Dano dicite doc valentibus cum magnis dis. 3. M. Curious. Quem nemo ferro potuit superar nec oro. 4. Q. Fabius Maximus. Unus homo nobis cunctando restitut rem, noenum rumors ponbat anti salutum, ergo plusque magisque viri nunc gloria claret. 5. The Strength of Rome. Moribus antiquus residential stat Romana verisque. From the Tragedies. 6. A Bereaved Father's Fortitude. Ego cum genui, tam morituros civi etei resusculi. Praeterea ad Troiam cum nisi obi defendendum Grecium, sibum me in mortiferum bellum, non in epulas mitera. 7. Gods careless of mankind. Ego deum genus esse semper dixi et dicam cielidum, sed eos non curario piner, quid agit humanum genus, nam esse curin, bene bonus sit, male malice, quod nunc abist. From the Epigrams. 8. Ennius Epitaph. Nemo me decrumis decoret nec funera flee to faxit. Cur? Valito vivus per ora virum. 2. Lucretius. 1. Things unattempted yet in prose or rhyme. Nunc age quod superest cognas et clarius audi. Nec me animi fallit quam sint obscura. Sed acri percussit thurso laudis spes magna meum cor et simul incussit suavum me pectus amorem muserum, quo nunc instinctus ment vigenti 5 avia pieridum peregro loca nullius antitrida solo. Juvat integros accidir fontes ad quorir, juvat novos discerpra floris insignemque meo capitae patir in coronam unde prius nulli velerant tempora musi. 10 primum quod magnis docio de rebus et artis religionum animam nodis ex solvere purgo, dane quod obscura de ritam lucida pango carmina, museo contingens cuncta lapor. De rerum natura I. 931 to 934. 2. The Praise of Epicurus. E tenebris tantis tam clarum extelir lumen caprimus potuisti in lustrans commoda vitae, te sequor, o grei gentis decus. Inctoes nunc ficta pedum pono presis vestigia signis, non edus ortandi cupidus quam propter amorem 5 quod te imitari avio, quid enim contendat herundo sickness. Aut quinam tremulis facera artibus haedi consimili incursa passant et fortis equivis? 2. Pater, ias rerum inventor, tu patria nobis suppetitus precepta, tuisque ex, inclut, chartes, 10 floriferus ut apes and saltibus omnia libant, omnia nos idem de passimur aurea dicta, aurea, perpetua semper dignissima vita. Nam simul ac ratio tua copid vociferari naturam rerum, divina ment corda, 15 Diffugient anemi terrors, Moenia mundi dissident, totem video per inane Jerry res. Apparet divum numen sedes quieti quas nec concussion venti nec nubila nimbis asperga nec nix acri concreta praena 20 cona cadens violet semperc nubilis ether intigit, et large diffuso lumen rident. Omnia suppeditat poro natura nec ola residential anemi pacem delibat tempori in ullo. Ad contra nusquam apparent acarigia templa 25 nec tellus obstat quin omnia despicianter, sub pedibus qui cum infra per inane jurunter. His ibi me rebus quidem divina voluptas precipit ad horror, quod sic natura tua sixtam manifesta patens ex omni part, retecta est 30 id 3. 1-30. 3. The changing seasons. It ver et Venus, et veris prenuncius ante penatus gratitor Zephyrus, vestigia propter flora cabus mater prespargens ante vi cuncta coloribus egregiis et odoribus oplet. In loci sequitur calor aridus et cumzuna 5 pulverulentus series et atesia flabra aquilonum. Ind autumnus addit, gratitor simul juhius uin. Ind alii tempi states ventique secunter, altitonans vulturnus et auster fulmen pollens. Tandem bruma nivis advert pigrumc rigorem, 10 prodit heaps, sequitur crepitans hanc dentibus albor. IDV 736 to 746. 4. The origin of superstition. Ergo perfugium sibi habebant omnia divis tradir et alorum nutifacera omnia flecti. In caloc deum seds et templa locurunt, persilum volvi quia nox et luna videter, luna dies et nox et noctis signa severa 5 noctivigec faces cali flammake volantes, nubila sol embers nix vendi fulmina grando et rapidi fremidis et murmura magna minerum. O genus infelix humanum, talia divis cum tribut facta ac iras adiunxita serbis. 10 Quantus tum gemidis ipsi sibi, quantac nobis vulnera, quas lacrimas peperare mineribia nostris. Nec pietas ullus velatum sep videri verdir ad lapidem ac omnis excedir ad eris nec procumbera humi prostratum et pandera palmus 15 ante deum delibera nec eris sanguine multo spargir quadrupedum nec votus nectara vota, sed mage pacata passi omnia menturi. Nam cum suspissimus magni celestia mundi templa, superstellisque micantibus ethera fixum, 20 et venit in mentem solis linique virum. Tunc alice oppressa malis and pectora cura illa quoque expurge factum capit erigir infit, nequi forte deum nobis in mensa potestas sit, vario motuque candidas sidera versit. 25 Temptat enim de biem mentem rationis egestas, equinam furit mundi genitalis origo, et simul equi sit finus, quod moenia mundi soliciti motus hunc passant fere labrum, and divinitas aeterna donata salute 30 perpetual passant evi labentia tractu immensi validas evi contem near viris. Praeteria cui non animus formidine divum contrahider, cui non corripunt membra pavor, fulminis horribili cum plaga torrida tellus 35 contramit et magnum percurrent murmura coelum? Non populi gentes tremunt, regest superbi corripiant divum percussi membra timor, nequid obi admissum fud dictum superbi poenarum grave sit solvendi tempus adultum? 40 Denique sub pedibus tellus cum tota vacillat comcaci cadunt herbs debiec minanter, quid mirum sise temnant mortalia secla ac potestatis magnas marasque relincant in rebus viris divum, quae cunctigubernant? 45 IDV 1186 to 1225, 1236 to 1240. 3. Catullus. 1. Exposed to a draught. Fury, villula nostra non ad austri flatus appositas nec ad favoni nec saevi bori aut apilioti, verum ad millia quindecim et descentos. O ventum horribilum ac pestilentum. 526. 2. An affected pronunciation. Commoda diespat, assi quando commoda velit dicera, et insidias arias insidias, et tum mirifis sperabat esse locutum, cum quantum poterat dixerat insidias. Credo, sic mater, sic libera avunculus ius, 5 sic maternus avis dixerat ac avia. Hoc misso in Syrium requirent omnibus oras, audibant idem haec leniter et leviter, nec sibi postilla mechabant talia verba, cum subito ad furter nuncius horribilis, ten Ionios fluctus, post quam illic area sisset, iam non Ionios esse, sed Ionios. 84. 3. The dead pet. Legit, o veneres cupidinesque et quantum est hominum venustiorum. Passer mortis est mi puelli, passer, delicii mi puelli, quem plus illa oculis sui amabat, 5 nam melitus erat, swamp norat ipsum tam bene quam puella matrim, nec cc agremio ilius movebat sed circumcilians modo huc modo illic ad solum dominum usque piplabat. 10 Connuncit periter tenebricosum illic unde negant redire quemquam. Ad vobis male sit, malae tenebri orsi, quae omnia bella deveratis, tam bellum mihi passerem abstulistis. 15 O factum male. Io misel passer. Tua nunc opera mi puelli flendo tergigili rubent ocelli. 3. 4. Veranius, welcome. Verani, omnibus e mais amicis antistans mihi millibus trecentis, venestine domum ad toos panades fratresque unanimos anumc matrem? Venisti. O mihi nuncii bidi. 5. Visum te in columum audiamc hybrum narentem loca, facta, nations, ut mos estus, applicants colum iucundum os oculasque saviabor. O quantum est hominum beatiorum, 10 Quid me licius est beatius? 9. 5. Homeward bound. I am ver egelidos refert tepors, I am cali furor equinaxialis iucundus zephiri silesit oris. Linquanter Frigii, Catul, Campi nisiec ager uber estuosi, 5 Ad claras agi velimus herbs. I am mens pretrepidans avid vigari, I am laetis studio pedes vigescunt. O dulces commodum valit coitus, lunge quos simul adomo perfectos ten diversi varii vai reportant. 46. 6. Home at last. Pene insularum, Sirmio, insularum cosel, quascumcin liquentibus stagnus merice vasto furtu turc Neptunus, quam te libenter quamque laetus inviso, vix me ipsi credens thynium ac bithynos 5 licis campos et vidir te in tutto. O quid salutis est beatius curies, cum mens onus reponit, ac peregrino labor feci venemus larum ad nostrum desideratoque ad quiesimus lecto? 10 Hoc est quod unum est pro laboribus tantis. Salve, o venusta Sirmio, ac ero gaudet vasc, o lidi lacus undi, redit, quid est domi cacanorum. 31. 7. Sympathy and sorrow. Assi quicquam mutis gradum acceptum sepulchris accidere nostro, cav, delor potus, quo desiderio vetters renovamus amores ac olim missus flemus amicitias, cert non tanto mors immatura dolori est 5 Quintilii, quantum gadet amore tua. 96. 8. Vita frater amabilior. Etsi me ad sigil confectum cura dolor sevicat adoctis, ortail, virginibus, nec potes est dulcis muserum exprimer fides mens animi, tantis fluctuat ipsum malis, namque me nuperlithio gurgite fratris 5 Peligulum manens adlet undepedum, Troy iridio quem subter litor tellus ereptum nostris obdurit ex oculis. Nunquam ego te vita frater amabilior ad spicium postac, at cert semper amabo, 10 Semper maesta tua carminum mort canum, qualia sub densis remorum consonant umbris dolias. Absumpti fatigimen zidali, sed tamen in tantis meriribus, ortail, mitto haec expressa tibi carmina batiati, 15 Ne to dicta vagis niciquam credit eventis effluxis meo forte putes animo. Alex v. 1-8, 10-18. 9. Frater aveac veil. Multas pergentis et multa periquora vectus advenio has miseras, frater, ad inferias, UTT postremo donerem munerum mortis et mutum niciquam ad locuris interim, quanta quidem fortuna mihi tet abstulit ipsum, 5 Hu miser indine frater adempt mihi. Nunc tamen interia haec, prisco quae more parentum tradita sunt tristi munera ad inferias, accipi fraterno multum menantia flitu atque in perpetuum, frater, aveac veil. 10 Ci. 4. Virgil. 1. The Tale of Aristeus. Cos Deus hanc musi, cos nobis extudit artem? Unde nova ingressus hominum experientia sepit? Pastor Aristeus fugens piniae tempi, amus sis, ut fama, apibus morboque famque, tristis ad extremis sacrum caput ad stidit amnis, 5 multa quaerens, ac hac ad fadus voci parentum, mater, Cyrene mater, quae gurgitis huius iam et tens, quid me preclara stirpi deorum, si modo, quem perhibes, pater est imbrius Apollo, in visum fadus genuisti? Aut quo tibi nos stri ten pulsus amor? Quid me coelum sperare iubibus? En idiom hunc ipsum vitae mortalis honorem, quem mihi vix frugum et pecudum custodia solers omnia temptanti extuderat, te matri, relinquo. Quin age, et ipsa manu felicis urus silvas, 15 fer stabulus inimicum ignem ac interfice messis, ursata, et validum invitus molir bipenem, tantami sit separant te dia laudis. At mater sonatum thalamos sub fluminis alti sensit. Eam circum Milesia velera nymphi 20 carpabint, hyali saturo fucata color, drymoke, xanthoque, lijac, philodicique, caesarium effusi nitidam per candida calla. Nices spioque, thaliac, simodicique, sitipique et flava licorias, altera virgo, 25 altera tum primos licini experta labors, cleoque et baro sorer, oceanitides ambi oro, pictus instincti pellibus ambi, ac ephire, ac opus, et Asia diapia, et tandem positus velux arethusa sigidus. 30 interquas curum climbing nerbat in anum vulcani, martis dolos et dulcia furta, aqui chao densos divum numerabat amores. Carmine quo capte dum fusis malia pensa devolvent, iterum maternas impulit oris 35 luptus aristii, vitrisque sedilibus omnes obstipuer, sed ante alias arethusa sorores perspicions summa flavum caput extulit unda, et procul, o gemita non frustra exterita tanto, Cyrene sorer, ipsi tibi, tua max summa cura. 40 tristis aristias penii genitoris ad undam stat lacrimens, et crudilum nomini dicit. Huic percussa nova metem formidine mater, duc, age, duc ad nos, fas illi limina divum tanher, 8. Simul alta ubit dicider late 45 flumina, quae juvenis gressus inferet. Ad illum curvata in montis facium circumstetit unda accipic sinu vasto mesic sub amnem. Imk doma mirans genetricis et hum ida regna spellencisque lacus clausos lucasque senantis 50 ibit, et ingenti motu stupefactus aquarum omnia sub magna labentia flumina terra spectabat diversa locis, facimc, licunc, et caput, unde altus primum esse erumpit enapius, unde pater Tiberinus, et unde aniena fluenta, 55 saxasusque sonens hipponis. Misus caecus, et gemina oratus torino cornua vultu iridinis, quo non alias perpingui occulta in mer purpureum violentur effluit amnis. Post quam est in thalami pendentia pumis tecta 60 preventum, et nati fletus cognovit in the Cyrene, manibus liquidos dant ordine fontis Germani, tonsisque ferent mentilia villis, pars opulus vonant menses, et planar reponent pocula, pantius adolescent ignibus aeri, 65 et mater, cape Meonii Carkesia Bacchi, Oceano Libimus, 8. Simul ipsa precator oceanum patram rerumnum fast sorors, centum quae silvas, centum quae flumina servant. Ter liquido ardentem perfudet nectar vestum, 70 ter flamma ad sumum tecti subiecta reluxit. Omine quo fermens animum sic incipit ipsa, est in Carpathio Neptuni gurgite vates Carolinus Proteus, magnum capicibus equor et iuncto bipedum cura mediter equorum. 75 hic nunc imathi portus patriumque revisit Palanin, hunc et nymphi veneramer et ipsi grandivus Nereus, navit namque omnia vates, quae sint, quae furent, quae mox ventura trahanter. Quip ida Neptuno visum est, in mania curious 80 armenta et turpis passit sub gurgite focas. Hic tibi, nate, prius vinclis capiendis, ut omnem expediat morbi causum, even tusk secundit. Nam sign 6 non ola dabit precepta, nec illum orando flex, vim durum et vincula capto 85 tenda, doli circum haec demum frangenter inaes. Ipsa ego te, medios cum sol excendrit estis, cum sitiant herbae, et pecori iam gracior umbra est, in secreta sanis ducum, quo fessus ab undis esse recipit, facil ut somno ad gredier ia centum. 90 verum ubi corruptum manibus vinclis tenebis, tum vari illudent species ac ora ferrerum. Fiat enim subito sus horridus, attract tigris, squamosus draco, et fulvus servis liena, aut acrem flammi sonatum dabit, atgita vinclis 95 exidet, aut in aquas tenuis delapsus abibit. Sed quanto al magus formas se vertet in omnes, tanto, nate, magus content tenacia vincula, donec talus erit mutato corpori, quaelum videris, incepto tegerit cum lumina somno. 100 haec 8, et liquidum ambrosii defundit odorum, quo totum nati corpus produxit, ad illi dulcis compositus spirivit crinibus ora, ac habilis membris venit vigor. Est spicus ingens exerci latir in montis, quo plurima vento 105 cogitur inc sinus scindit cc under reductos, deprensis olim statio titissima naudis, intus se vasti protus tigit obius saxi. Hic juvenum in latibris aversum illumin nympha collocat, ipsa procul nebulis obscura resistit. 110 Im rapidus torrens sitientis Sirius indos artabat calo, et medium sol igneus orbum hauserat, arabant herbae, et cava flumina sixes faucibus ad limum radii tepefacta cocebant, cum proteus consueta petensi fluctibus antra 115 ibit. Eum vasti circum gens hamida ponti exsultans rorum late dispergit emerum. Sternint se somno diversi in litor foci, ipsi, velostabuli custos in montibus olim, vesper ubi pastiviculos ad tecta reducit 120 auditisque lupos acunt bellatibus agni, considit scopulo metis, numerumque recenset. Cuius aristio quoniam establata facultas, vix defessus sinum passus componere membra, cum clamor rut magno, menesis iacentum 125 occupat. Al sui contra non in memor artis omnia transformat ceci in miracula rerum, ignemque, horribilemque ferrum, fluviumque liquentum. Verum ubi nulla fugum reparit fallacia, victus in ceci redit, ac hominis tandem or locatus. 130 nam casti, iurvanum confidentissim, nostras iacida dire domos? Quid hinc pedis? Inquit. Et al, size, protu, size ipsi, nec st faller quicquam, sed tu design vel. Deum precepta secuti venimus, hinc laces quisidum oracula rebus. 135 tantum effatus. Ad haec vates 6 denique multa ardentis oculos in torsit lumen glauco, et graviter frendens sic fatus ora resolvit, non t nullius exercen numinis ire. Magna Luis camisa. Tibi has miserabilis Orpheus 140 hod quaquam ob meritum poenas, and I fata resistant, suscitat, et rapta graviter pro coniage savit. Illa cadem, dum t fugerit per flumina precepts, iminem anti pedes hydrum moritura puella servantem ripas alta non vidit in herba. 145 At chorus equalis driadum clamor supremos implorant montis, flirent rhodopi arses, altaque Pangea, et risi mavortiatellis, at Gedi, ac Hebris, et actius Orithia. Ipsi, cava solens egrum testudin amorem, 150 t, dulcis coniunx, t solo in lit orsicum, t venient die, t decident canebat. T nerias idiom fauces, alta ostia thethes, et caligantum nigra formidine lucum ingressus, menisc adiat regem tremendum, 155 Nesiac humanis precibus mansuescara corda. At cantu commodi arabi de sedibus imis umbri ibant tenuis simulacrac lus currentum, quam multa in folius avium se milia condunt, vesper ubi aut hibernus agit de montibus imber, 160 matris ac viri, defunctac corpora vita magnanimum hiram, pueri inuptique puelli, impositique rogis juvens anti ora parentum. Quos circum limus niger et deformis arundo co sitae tardac paulus in amabilis under 165 alligat, et novian stix interfusa coercit. Quinipsi stipura domus at intima ledi tartara cariliasc in plexi crinibus anguis eumenides, tenuit ganaeans tria cerberis ora, ac actionii vento rota constitit orbis. 170 Imk pedum referens casus evacerat omnis, reditac Eurydices superas venibat ad auras, poen sequens, namque hanc didirat pro serpena legium, cum subita in caudum dementia sepit amantem, igniscenda cadem, sirent si ignis germanes, 175 restidit, Eurytus sanc suam, I am luce sub ipsa, in memor, heu. Victus ganimi respexit. Ibi omnis effusus labor, atcan mitis rupta tyranni fodera, terque frager stagnis auditus avernus. Illa, cos ed me, inquit miserum, edt perdidit, Orfeu, 180 castantis furor? En iterum crudelia retro fata vocant, conditque natantia lumina somnis. Iamque veil, fera ingendi circumbata nact, invalidas tibi tendens, heu non tua palmus. Dixit, et ex oculis subito, suffumus in auras 185 commixtus tenuis, fugit diversa, nec illum, prensentum neciquam umbras et multa volentum dicera, praeterea vidit, nec portator orsi amplius obiectum passus transier pallidum. Quid face ret? Quo esse rapta bis coniuge ferit? 190 Quo fleta manus, qua numina voci movret? Illa cadem stygia nabit iam frigida simba. Septem illum totos perhubin ex ordine mensis rupi sub area deserti ad strimones undam flavis, et gelidus haec evolvis sub antris, 195 mulsentem tigris et agentum carmine quercus, qualis populium marens philomela sub umbra emissos querderfidis, quos duris errata observans nido in plumis detraxit, ad illa flet noctem. Remoque sedens miserabile carmen 200 integrat, et maestis late loca questibus implit. Nulla Venus, non ulli animum flexera hymenii. Solus hyperboreas glacies tenamt nivelum arvaque ripius numquam viduata praenis lustrabat, raptam Eurydisin ecin rita thethes 205 dona querens, spridi syconum quo munerum matris inter sacra deum nocturnique orgia bacchi deserptum laetos juvenum sparser per agros. Tum quoque marmoria capita servis revulsum gurgite cum medio por ans oiagrius hebris 210 vulveret, Eurydisin vox ipsa et frigida lingua, miserum Eurydisin. Anima fugienti vocabat, Eurydisin toto referibant flumine ripi. Haec proteus, etsei acta dedit equor in altum, quaque dedit, spumantum undam sub veris torsit. 215 A non Cyrene. Namque ultro ad fata timentem, nate, licet tristis animo deponera curas. Haec omnis morbi causa, hinc miserabile nymphi, cum cabus illa choros lucus agitabat in altus, extitium misere apibus. Tu munera supplex 220 tenda, pedens pacem, et facilis venera nepias, namque dabent veniam votis, erasque remittent. Sed, modus orandi sit, prius ordine dicam. Quatuor eximios prestanti corpori toros, catibi nunc vordis depascent summa laecae, 225 delige, et intacta tautidem servis juvencas. Quatuor his eris alta ad delibridirum constitu, et sacrum jugulis demit crurum, corporac ipsa bum frondoso desir lucco. Post, ubi nona soas aurora ostenderit ordis, 230 inferias orphii lithia papavera mits, et nigram mactabis ovum, lecunc revises. Placatum Eurydisin vitula veneraba quisa. Haud mora, continuo matris precepta faces sit, ad delibra venit, monstratas excitat eris, 235 quatuor eximios prestanti corpori toros dicit, et intacta tautidem servis juvencas. Post ubi nona soas aurora induxerat ordis, inferias orphii midit, lecunc revisit. Hic vero subitum ac dictum mirabile monstrum 240 aspicient, liquefacta bum per viscera todos strider apes utero et ruptus effervir costis, inmens asc trahi nubes, iamque arbor summa confluera et lentis juvum demitera ramus. George X 4. 315 to 558. V. Phaedrus. 1. Prologue. Aesopus octor quam materiam reperit, hanc ego palivi versibus scenarius. Duplex libelli dos est, quod risum movit et quod prudenti vitam concilio monae. Calumniari sicis autem voluerit, 5 quod arbors loquanter, non tantum ferae, fictus iocari nos meminarit fabulus. I. Prologues. 2. The Wolf and the Lamb. Ad rivum undem lupus et agnes venerant citi compulsi, superior stabat lupus longec inferior agnes. tunc vos improba latro incitatus urgii causam intellit. Cur, inquit, turbulentum facisti mihi 5 aquam bibenti? La niger contra timens capacem, quiso, facera quot queris lupe? A te decurrit ad meos haustus liquor. Repulsus il veritatis viribus, anti hos sex mensis male, 8 dixisti mihi. 10 respondit Agnes, equidem natus non eram. Pater Hercultus, al inquit, maledixit mihi. Ac ida conreptum lacerat inius denis. Haec propter illos scripta est homines fabula, confictus causus innocens operament. 15 1. 3. The dog, the meat, and the river, or greed its own punishment. Admittit merito proprium ca alienum adpetit. Canis per flumen carnum dum ferit natans, lympharum in speculo vidit simulacrum sum, aliam predum ab altero feri putans error voluit, verum decepta aviditas 5 et quem tenebat or dimisit cibum, nec quem petbat potuit addio ad tingere. I. 4. 4. Aesop and the insolent fellow. Successus ad pernicium multos devicat. Aesopo quidem petulans lapidem impejurat. Tanto, inquit, melior. Assum dane illi dedit sic prosecutus, plus non habeo mehercule, sed, unde acciper passus, monstrebo tibi. 5 Venit ecce dives et potens, huic similiter impinge lapidem et dignum accipis premium. Persuasus al facit quod monitus fut, sed spes fefelit impudentum audacium, comprensus namque poenas persolvit crus. 10-3. 5. 5. How Castor and Pollux rewarded Simonides. Quantum valerent inter homines literi, dixi superius, quantus nunc illis hanos a superis sit tributus, traudam memoriae. Simonides edamile, de quo readily, victori laudem quidem pictiuti scribret, 5 Certo conductus precios secretum peti. Exigua cum freneret materia impetum, usus pot amor est et licentia ac interposuit gemina lidi pignera, auctoritatem similis referens glori. 10 Opus ad probavit, sed merstis tertium accipit partem. Cum reliquium posserit, illi inquit, redent, quorum sunt laudis de. Verum, utne irate te demissum sensias, ad sinum mihi permit, cognatos volo 15 hodi inviter, quorum es in numero mihi. Fraudatus quambis et dolens injuria, any male dissimulans gratium corrumperit, promisit. Redite ora dicta, recubit. Splendibat hilare poculus convivium, 20 magno ad parata later resonabat domus. Repent duo cum juvens spavsi pulvera, sudor multo diffluentis, corpora humanum supra formum, quidem servilo mandant, ut ad esse proviset Simonidum. 25 Ilius interis, any faciat morum. Homo perturbatus excitat Simonidum. Unum promor ad vix pedum triclinio, reina cameri subito oppressit ceteros, nec ulli juvens sunt reperti ad annuum. 30 Ut est vulgatus ordo narrati re, omnes siren nominum presentium vitae dedis vitam merstis loco. 4. 25. 6. The Delphic Oracle. Utilius nobis quid sit dic, Phoebe, obsecro, cadelphos et famosum parnasum inculis. Quid est? Socrati vetus horrescent comi, tripods moventer, mugit additus religio, tremunt calori et ipsi palessit dies. 5 Voces resolvit icta pytho numini, audite, gentes, deli monitus Dei, pietatem colite, votus superis redite, patrium, parentes, natos, castas coniages defendite armis, feroce hostem pellite, 10 amicos sublevate, miseris parsite, bonus vivit, subdolus id obvium, delicta vindicate, castigate impios, punite turpi thalamos cavilent stupro, malos cavit, nulli nimium credite. 15 Haec elocuta concidit Virgo furens perfecto, nam quae dixit perdidit. Appendix 6. 7. The wit, the rustic, and the pig, or how prejudice met its deserved humiliation. Prevo favor labi mortals solent et, pro iudicio dum stant erroris sui, ad penitendum rebus manifestus agi. Facturus ludos quidem dives nobilis proposito cunctos invitavit premio, 5 Quam quisque possit ut novitatem ostenderit. Veneer artifices laudis ad certamina, quos interscurra, notus urbanos sale, habera dixit se genus spectaculi, quod in theater numquam prolatum fore. Ten dispersus rumor civitatum concitat. Paulo anti vacua turbum deficient loca. In scena vero postquam solus constitit sine adperatu, nullis adiutoribus, silentium ipsa facit expectatio. 15 Allen sinem repent demisit capit et sic porcelli vosum est imitatus sua, verum ut sub es paleo contenderent et excudi uberant. Quo facto simul nihil est repertum, multis onerant laudibus 20 hominem plausa prosequenter maximo. Hoc vidit fieri rusticus. Non mercure me vincit, inquit, et statum professus est idem facturum melius se postrati. Fit tubamire. I am favormentes tenet 25 et derejuri, non spectaturi, sedent. Uterque prodit. Scurra degrunnit prior movet plausus et clamors suscitat. Tunc simulans sisi vestimentus rusticus porcellum obdigere, quod facibat silicet, 30 said, in priori quia nil comparent, latens, prevelit orum vero, quem salaverat, et cum dolor vosum naturi exprimit. Adclamat populus scurrum multos similius imitatum, et cogit rusticum trudi foras. 35 Ad al profert ipsum porcellum e sinu, terpemque perdo pignore aurorum probans, and hic declaret, qualis cities indices. V. 5. 6. Seneca. 1. The rashness of the first navigators rebuked. Audax nimium cafrita primus rate tam fragili perfida rupit terasque suas post terga videns animum levibus creditit oris, dubioque sicos e quora cursive 5 potuit tenui fidera ligno, inter vitae mortisque vias nimium gracili limit depto. Candida nostri secula patres vidir, proco fraude remota. Ten sua quisque pigulatora tangens patrioque senex factus in arvo, parvo dives, nisi quas tolerat natale solemn, non norat ops, non dum quisquam sidera norat, 15 stellis cubus pingider ether non erat usus, non dum pluvias hiatas poterat vitare rithes, non alini lumina capre, eniseque sequitur flectique senex 20 attica tardis plaustra bodes, non dum boreas, non dum zephyrus nomen habebant. Ossus typhis pandera vasto carbasa ponto legesque novus 25 scriberi ventis. Bene decepti fodera mundi traxit in unum thes sala pinus iasit pati verbera pontum, partemque metus fieri nostri 30 mer suppositum. Dedit illa graves improba poenas per tam longos ducta mors, cum duo montes, claus tra profundi, hinc ac illinc subito impulsa 35 vili therio gemerant sonitu, spargerit arses nebesque ipses mer deprensum. Paluit audax typhis et omnes labenti manu misid habenas, 40 Orpheus tacuit torpent lyra ipsake vosum perdidit argo. Quid cum siculi virgo pelori, rebidos utero succincta canes, omnes peritur solvit hiatus? 45 Cos non todos horrid artis totiens uno litranti malo? Quid cum ausonium diari pests voci canora mer mulserant, cum pieria resonans cithara 50 Thracius Orpheus solitum cantu retinir rates peen coegit serena sequi? Quod futius precium cursus. Aurea pellus maiusque mari media malum, 55 Merces prima digna carina. Man now master of the sea. Nunc iam cessit pontus et omnes pater legis, non palladia compacta manu regumque ferens inclita ramos querder argo, 60 Qualibet altum cumba pererat, terminus omnis motus et urbs muros terra possuere nova, nil qua furat seed reliquit pervius orbis, 65 Indus gelidum potat araxin, Albin Percy renumque bibent. The prophecy of Nero's tutor victim. Venient anna secula seris, quibus oceanus vincula rerum laxit et ingens patit tellus 70 tethysque novos dedigat orbs nec sit terris ultima thuli. Media 301 to 320, 329 to 379. 2. The return of Agamemnon. Agamemnon. Tandem revertus asps ad patrios laris, o cara salve terra. Tibi tot barbari de dir gentis spolia, tibi felix dio potentis agi Troia submisit manus. Quid ista vates corpus effusa ac tremens 5 dubia labat servis? Famulae, Atolite, refavit gelido latis. I am recipit diem marsent visu. Societas sensus tos, optatus il portus eramis ad est. Festus dies est Cassandra. Festus et Troi fut. Ten agam. Venerimer eris. Cass. Cessidit anti eris pater. Agam. Iavum precimer. Cass peritor hersium iavum? Agam. Credis vidir t ilium? Cass. Et priamum simul. Agam. Hic Troia non est Cass. Ube Helena est Troium puto. Agam. Eni metu dominum famula. Cass. Libertas ad est. 15 agam. Secura vive. Cass. Mihi mori est securitas. Agam. Nullum est periculum tibimet. Cass. Ad magnum tibi. Agam. Victor timer quid potest? Cass. Quod non timit. Agam. Hanc fida, famulae tiba, dum excutiat deum, retinit any quid impotens pexit furor. 20 at te pater, cassiva torx fulmina polisque nubis, sidera et terris regis, ad quem triumphi spolia victors ferent, et te serorum cuncta palantis viri, argalica uno, pecore votivo libens 25 erabump donus supplice et fibricolum. Agamemnon 782 to 807. 7. Lucan. 1. The energy of Caesar. Caesar in omnia precepts, nil actum credens cum quid suppressit agendum. Pharsalia 2. 656, 657. 2. Equal authorities and opposite verdicts. Any sequenquam iam fere potest caesar priorem Pompeius parum. Casiastius induit arma, Syri nefas, magno esse iudis quisque tuitur, victrix causa dies placuit, said Victor Catoni. IDI 125 to 128. 3. Cato refusing to consult the oracle of Jupiter Ammon. Al deo plenus, tacita quem ment gearbat, effudit dignas addidus e pector voces, quid quiri labien iubs? An liber in armis occubus velum podius, quam regna vidir? And sit vita nihil et longa? Indifferit idis? 5 and notiat vis ola bono? Fortunicate perdata posita virtut minus? Laudem doc vel sit satis, et numquam successa crescat honestum? Simus, et haec nobis non altius insuret hamon. Hieremus cuncti superis, templo tausente, 10 nil agimus nisi sponte, nec vasibus ullis numen eget, dixit semel nascentibus octer quidquid syri licet, steros nec legit herinas, ut canret pausis, mersit hoc pulvera verum, estque de seds, ubi terra, et pontus, et air, 15 et coelum, et virtus. Saperos quid quirimus ultra? Iopiter est quod cumc vides, quod cumc moveris. Sortilegius egent dubii, semperc futuris cassibus ancipites, me non oraculus certum, sed mors certa facit, pavito forti cadendum est 20 hoc satis estixis iavum, sic al profator, servitac fide templi discedit ab eris, non exploratum populus ham mona relinquens. ID 9. 564 to 586. 4. Cato in the desert. Ipsi manu sua pila gerens precedit anilae melidis ora pedes, monstrat tolera labors, non ubit, et nulla viator servis supinus, carpento accedens. Somni parsissimus ipsi est, ultimus hoster aqui. Cum tandem font reperto 5 indiga conator laticis patar juventus, stat dum lix abibit. Si veris magna peritur fama bonus, et si successa nuda remoto inspicitor virtus, quidquid laudamus in ullo maiorum fortuna fut. Cos Marte secundo, ten cos tantum merit populorum sanguine nomen? Hunc ego percertes, Libiac extrema triumphum ducere maliurim, quam ter Capitolia curus scandir Pompei, quam frangir cala Jugurthi. Ecce parens veris patri, dignissimus eris, 15 Roma, tues. ID 9. 587 to 602. 5. The character of Cato. Hi mores, haec durian moda Catoni secta fut, servar modum, finem tenera, naturam sequi, patriac in pendere vidum, nec sibi, sed todi genitum esse credere mundo. Huic epuli, vicis famum, magnique penades, 5 submovis hemum tecto, pretio sec vestis, herdum membra super Romani mor quiritis induxus togum. Urbi pater est, urbique meritus, iestici cultor, rigidi servator honesti, 10 in commune bonus, nullas catones and actus subrepsit partem tulit sibi nata voluptas. ID 2. 380 to 391. 8. Statius. 1. To sleep. Crimen quo morui, juvenis placidissime divum, quo error miser donus ut solus egrum, somni, tues? Te sed omni picus valacresque feriec et simulant fessos curvata cacumena samos, nec trusibus fluvius idem sonus, occidit horror 5 equores et terris Maria adclinata quiescent. Septima iam radians Phoebe mihi respisit egris stergenus, taudidem et pafiec revisant lampades et totians nostros tithonia questus praederit et gelidos spargit miserata flagello. 10 unde ego sufficium? Non sunt mihi lumina mil, quae caesar altuna tantum station tenebat argus et haud unquam vigilabat corpori toto. At nunc, hu, assi aliquis ultro te somni, repellit, in vaini. Nec te totas infundera pennas 15 laminibus compello mais, hoc tuba preceda leisure, extremo me tange cacumine vergae, sufficit, aut levitus suspenso poplite transi. Silvae v. 4. 9. Martial. 1. Misplaced eloquence. Non de 6 ni quid nec venino, sed lis est mihi de tribus capellis, the sine caer has a bes ferdo. Hoc iud ex sibi postulat probari. 2 canas Mithridaticum bellum 5 et periuria punici furoris et sullus mariosque musiosque magna voci sonus monque tota. I am dic postum de tribus capellis. 6. 19. 2. A wise precaution. Cur non midomios tibi, Pontiliane, libelos? Any mihi tu midas, Pontiliane, toas. 7. 3. 3. An improbable situation. Si proger sols, qualis sim, pris, futuris, si fiam locuples sinque repent potens. Quenquam passi putas mores narrare futuros? Dic mihi, si fias tu leo, qualis eris? 12. 92. 4. The country resident seeking city markets. Capena grandi porta qua plutgata phrygium matris almo qua lavit ferrum, Horatiorum qua vere caesar campus et qua pusili fervit Hercules fanum, Faustine, plena bassus ibit in Rita, 5 omnes speedi copias trahens ruris. Illic vidiers furtis nobili calls et utrump purum cecilesque lactucas pigroque ventri non inutiles betas. Illic coronam pinguibus gravum turtis ten leperem clisum gallici canis dente non dumc victa lactium faba porcum. Nec furiatus ibit anticarucum, sed tuta fano cursor ova portabat. Urbum petbat bassus? Immo rus ibit. 15.3. 47. 5. The miniature farm. Donasti, lupe, rus suburb nobis, sed rus est mihi meus in fenestra. Rus hoc dicera, rus potes vocare? In quo ruda facet nemus Diani, arguti tigit aliquot cicadi, 5 quot formica die comedit uno, clusis cui folium rosi corona est, in quo nec cucumis iasir rectus, nec serpens habitera tota possit, ericam male passit hortus unam, 10 consumpto morder culex selicto, et talpa est mihi fossa ac ereter. Non bellitus higher, non mariscae ridera aut violi patir passant. Fines mus populator et colono 15 tamquam sus Caledonius timter. Et sublata volantis ungu prognes anidos seges est hirundinino. Vic simplet cochlean per actum messis et mustum nous condomus piccata. 20 Erasti, lupe, litera seduna. Nam quo tempori predium didisti, malum tu mihi prandium didisis. 11, 18. 1 to 7, 10 to 20, 23 to 27. 6. Carpe diem. Cras te victrum, cras dices postum, semper. Dic mini, cras istid postum, quando venit? Quam lunge cras istid ubi est? Aut unde petendum? Numquid apud parthos Arminiasque latet? I am crasisted habet priami vel Nestoris annos. 5 crasisted quanti, dic mihi, possit emi? Cras vives? Hodie iam vivere postum serum est, al sapit, quiscis, postum, vixit Harry. V. 58. 7. Secrets of Happiness. Vitam quae facient beaturem, jucundissime martialis, haec sunt, residential non parta labor, sed relicta, non in gradus ager, focus prenis, lis numquam, toga rara, mens quieta, 5 vires ingenui, salubra corpus, prudens simplicitas, pers amici, convictus facilis, sine arte mensa, nox non ebria, sed soluta curis, non tristis toris, et tamen pudicus, ten somnis. Ca faciat brevis tenebras, quod sis, esse velis nihilque malis, summum nec metuas diem, nec ops. X. 47. 8. After the great eruption. Hic est pampines voridis modo vespius umbris, presserat hic meditos nobilis juva lacis. Haec juga quam nici cols plus bacchus amavit, hoc nuper satirae monti didir choros. Haec veneris seds, lacidamon gracior illi, 5 hic locus Herculeo numini claris erat. Cuncta iacint flammis et tristi mersa favilla, nec superi velant hoc liquis sibi. 4. 44. 9. Portia. Coniugus audicet fatum cum Portia bridi et subtractus sibi quereret arma dolor, non dum situs et mortem non possi negri? Creditorum, fatus hoc doquis patrem. Dixit et ardens avido bibit or favelas, 5 I nunc et ferrum, tuba molesta, niga. I. 42. 10 Pate non dalit. Castus so gladium cum tradet aria pedo, quem de visceribus strinxerat ipsa sui, siqua fides, vulnus quod fici non dalit, inquit, sed quod tu facies, hoc mihi, Pate dalit. I. 13. 11 Paris epitaph. Quiscis flaminium terris, viator, nali nobile praeterior marmor. Urbis deliciis sales cane lie, ars et gratia, lysis et voluptas, Romani decus et dolor theatrae 5 ac omnes veneres cupidinesque hoc sunt condita, quo Paris, sepulchro. Underscore 11. 13. 12. Genuine and counterfeit grief. Puella senibus dulcior mihi signis, agna Gallici malior falentini, concus lacrini delicatur stagni, cui nec lapillos preferas erythrios, nec modo pallidum pecutus indicae dentem, 5 nives primas lilium non tactum, quae crine visit beatici gregis velis renique nodos oramp nitellum, fragravit or, quod rosarium pesti, quod atticarum prima meliserarum. 10 Quod Ciconorum rapta de manu gleba, cui comparatus indecens erat pavo, in amabilis sciuris et frequens phoenix, ad hoc recenti. Tepit erosion busto, quam pessimorum lex amara fatorum 15 sexta peregit him, nec tementoda, nostros amores gaudium lisusc. Etsu tristem me meus vetat pietis, pectusc pulsens peritor et comum velens, deflir non te vernili pudet mortem? 20 Ego coniugem in quid extuli et temen vivo, notum, superbam, nobilum, locuplidum, quid esse nostro fortius potus pito? Ducendes accipit, et temen vivit. V. 37. 13. Epitaph on Little Erosion. Hanc tibi, frontopater, genitrix flacilla, puellum oscula commendo deliciasque mies, parvula eni nigras horoscat erosion umbras oraque tartariae prodigiosa canis. Implitura fut sexte modo frigora brimi, 5 vixicit tautidem ni minus illa dies. Inter tam vetters ludat lasciva patronos et nomen bliso geriet or miam. Malia non rigidus casps tegidasa, nec illi, terra, gravis furis, non fut illa tibi. 10 v. 34. X. Juvenal. 1. The life of the poor at Rome, its dangers and discomforts. 1 to 33. Houses are all the while collapsing or burning. No one assists the poor man, while the millionaire has his misfortune more than made good by aspirants to legacies. 34 to 42. The rent you pay for a dark garret would buy a comfortable dwelling elsewhere. 43 to 49. There is so much noise at night that the poor man cannot sleep. 50 to 78. While he finds the streets dangerous both by day. 79 to 88, and by night. Cos timid aut timut gelida prines ruinum, aut posidis nemorosa inter iuga vulcinius, aut simplicibus gabius, aut proni tiburis arse? Nos urbum calimus tenui tibicine fultum magna part sway, nam sic labentibus obstat 5 villicus et veteris rimi cum texit hiatum securos pondant ubit dormi arena. Vivendum est illic ubi nulla incendia, nulli noct metis. I am possit aquam, I am frivola transfert eucaligon, tabulata tibi I am tertia fumit, 10 tu nescis, nam si gradibus trepidator abimus, ultimus ardibit quem tegula sola tortura pluvia, moles ubi redent ova columbi. Lectus erat quadro procula minor, arceoli sex, ornamentum abyssi, nec non et parvulus infra 15 cantharis, et recubans sub eadem marmor chiron. Iam que vitas grecos servabat sista libelos, et divina apisi rodband carmina murs. Nil habuit codris, cos enim negit? Et tamen illid perdidit infelix totem nihil, ultimus autumn 20 erumni est cumulus, quod nudum et frusta rogantem nemo sibo, nemo hospicio tecto cuvabit. Si magna asturisi cessidit domus, horrida mater, palati proceres, differed vat ammonia praeter, tum gemimus casus urbis, tunc autumus ignum. 25 ardet ad hoc, et iam occurrit cum marmora donit, conferat in pensas. Hic nuda et candida signa, hic aliquid preclarum euphronoris et polyclidi, hic Asianorum vetera ornamenta deorum, hic libros dabit et folios mediam minervam, 30 hic modium argenti. Meliora ac plura reponit persicus orborum latissimus et merito iam suspectus. Tamquam ipsi sois incenderit 80s. Si potes avelli sursensibus, optimus sori aut fabritiri domus aut frusinone peritur, 35 quanti nunc tenebris unum conducis in annum. Hortulus hic putusque brevis nec rest movendis in tenuis plantas facili defunditer haustu. Vive bidentis almans et culti villicus hordi, unde epilum passus centum der Pythagoreus. 40 est aliquid, quocunc loco, quocunc recessa unius sisi dominum facis lacerti. Plurimus hic eger morder vigilando, sed ipsum languorem peperit cibus imperfectus et herens ardenti stomacho, namque meritoria somnum 45 admittent? Magnes opibus dormitor in herb. Ind caput morbi. Ridarum transitus ardo vicorum inflexu et stant is convitia mandre eripiant somnum druso vicilisque marinus. Si vocat officium, tubus sedent viator 50 dives et ingenti cut super ora liberna ac obiter legit aut scribit vel dormiat intis, namque facit somnum claus electica fenestra. Anti tamen veniat, nobis properantibus obstat unda prior, magno populus primit agmen lumbos 55 consequitur, ferit hic cubito, ferit asir duro alter, at hic tignum capitae incutit, almetertam. Pinguia crura ludo, planta mox undique magna calcer, et indigito clavis mihi melitus herit. Non vides quantos celebrator sportula fumo? 60 centum convivi, sequitur sua quem culina. Corbulo vix ferit tot vesa ingentia, tot residential impositus capitae, quas recto vertis port at servilis infelix et cursa ventilat ignum. Sindunter tunicae sarte modo, longa coruscat 65 seraco venient abes, ac altera pinum plaustra vihunt, nutant alti populoque menanter. Nam si procubit cos saxa ligustica port at axis et eversum fudit super egmena montem, quid superis de corporibus? Cos membra, cos ossa 70 invenit? Obtridum vulgi perit omni cadaver more anime, domus interia secura patellas iam lavit et bucca faculum excitat et sonat unctus striglibus et pleno component linti gutto. Haec inter pueros veri properanter, at al 75 iam sedet in ripa titrumc novitius horit porthmia, nec sperit senosi gurgitis aunum infelix nec habet quem porigit, or triuntem. Respice nunc alia ac diversa pericula noctis, quat spatium tectus sublimibus unde cerebrum 80 testa ferit, quotiens remosa et curta fenestris vesa cadant, quanto percussum pondera scienent et latent silicum. Passus ignavis haberi et subitae casus in providis, ad sinum si intestatus eas, addio tot fata, quod illa 85 noct patent vigiles te praederent fenestri. Ergo ops votumque feras miserabiliticum, ut sint contenti patulas defundera pelvis. 3. 190 to 277. 2. Mens sana in corpore sano. Nil ergo optabunt homines? Assi concilium vis, permittes ipsis expendere nominibus quid conveniat nobis rebusque sit util nostris. Nam pro iucundis aptissima quic dabenti, carrier est illis homo quam sibi. Nos animorum 5 impulsa et cica magnice cupidine ducti conjugium petimus partunc uxoris, ad illis notum capuere qualis futura sit uxer. Ut tamen et poscas aliquid voviasque sacellus exta et candigili divina te macula porsi, ten orandum est ut sit mens sana in corpore sano. Fertem passi animum mortis terror currentum, ca spatium vitae extremum intermunera ponent naturi, ca fere quit quascunc labors, nesciat irasci, cupiat nihil, et potiors 15 Hercules erumis credat sevasque labors et venir et sanus et pluma Sardanapoli. Monstro quod ipsi tibi passus der, semita cert tranquilli per virtutum patit unica vitae. Nullum numen abest si sit prudentia, nos t, 20 nos facimus, fortuna, dein que locamus. X. 346 to 366. 3. Sympathy the basis of civilization. Malissima corda humano generi der esse natura fateter, quae lacrimas dedit, haec nos stri pars optima sensus. Plorari ergo ubit causum dicentis amici squalerem rei, pupillum ad jura vocantum 5 circumscriptorum, cuius menantia flita ora puellers facient inserta capillae. Naturi imperio gemimus, cum funis adulti virginis occurrit, vel terra clauditor infans, et minor igni rogi. Cos enim bonus et face dignus ten arcana, quaelum sereris vult esse sacerdos, ulla aliena sibi credat mala? Separat hoc nos egrege mutorum, ac ideo venerabiles soli sortidi ingenium divinorum capax ac exercendis capian disc artibus apti 15 sin summa celesti demissum traximus arse, cuius egent prona et terram spectantia. Mundi principio indulcit communis conditor illis tantum animus, nobis animum quoque, mutuus ut nos adfectus patir auxilium et prester uberit, 20 dispersos trahir in populum, migrare vetusto de nemor et proevis habit adas lincera silvas, edificer domos, laribus coniungera nostras tectum aliad, tutos vicino limine somnos ut collata derit fiducia. Prodiger armus 25 lapsum, aut ingenti nutentem vulnere civum, communi der signa tuba, defendior istem turbis, atcuna portarum clave. Teneri. 15. 131 to 158. 4. 2 famous proverbs. D. Maiorum umbris tenuum et sine pondera terram spirentis crocos et in una perpetuum ver, capreceptorem sancti voluere parentis esse loco. 7. 207 to 210. Nil dictu fidem visuc haec limina tangit intraque pater est. Procul, a procul in puelli leninum et cantus pernectantis parasiti. Maxima debeter puero reverentia, siquid Turk pares, nec tu pueri contempturis annos, 5 sed peccaturo abstet tibi films infans. 14. 44 to 49. 11. Hadrian. 1. The dying Hadrian to his soul. Animula, vagula, blandula, hosps cum se corporis, quae nunc abibus in loca, peligula, rigida, nugula, nec uti sols, Davies Iocos? 5 from Spartianus, Vita Hadriani 25. 12. Anonymous. 1. Sayings of the 7 wise men. Optimus est, Cleobulus 8, modus, incola lindi, ex ephora, periandre, doces cuncta meditanda. Tempus nas inquit Mitylenes Pittacus ordis. Plurs esse malos bias automat al praenius. Milesias thales sponsori damna miniter. 5 nas inquit tet chiel on Lacedaemon Cretus. Secropius solon eni quid nimis induperabit. From Hyginus, Fabulorum liber 221. Sacred Latin Poetry. For Christmas Day. Pure natus in Bethlehem, unde gadet Jerusalem. Hic iaset in principio corregnit sine termino. Cognovit bas et asinus 5 quod pure erat Dominus. Regis de saba venient, orum, tuus, murum offerant. Intrantis domum in visum novum salutant principem. 10. Sciens sapentis vulnere de nostro venit sanguine. In carne nobis similis, peccato sed dissimilis. Ut rederet nos homines 15 deo et sibi similis. In hoc natali gaudio benedicamus Domino. Lauditer sancta Trinitas, Deo dicamus gratias. 20 Anonymous. For Easter Day. 1. Victimi Paschali laudis immolet Christiani. 2. Agnus redimit ovs, Christus innocens patri reconciliavit peccatoris. 3. Mors et vita duello conflixera mirando, dux vitae mortis regnat vivis. 4. Dic nobis Maria, quid vidisti in via? 5. Sepulchrum Christi viventis et gloriam vidi resurgentis. 6. Dic nobis Maria, quid vidisti in via? 7. Angelicos testes, siderium et vests. 8. Dic nobis Maria, quid vidisti in via? 9. Surrexit Christus, spes mea, precedit vas in Galilea. 10. Credendum est magis soli Mariae veraci quam iodiorum turbi fallaci. 11. Simus Christum surrexus ex mortuis vir, tu nobis victor rex miserere. Anonymous. Plaudite Caeli. Plaudite Caeli, ridit ether, summus et imus gaudit orbis. Transiat atri 5 tuba procelli, subiat almi gloria palme. Surgite verni, surgite floris, 10 Germana pictus surgite campis, teneris mixtae violis rosi, candida sparsus 15 lilia caldes. Currite plenus, carmina, Venice. Fundite latum, barbatha, metrum, 20 namque revixit, secuti dixit, pius illiisus funir Jesus. Plaudite montes, 25 ludite fontes, resonant vias, repetent coles, io revixit, secuti dixit, 30 pius illiisus funir Jesus. Anonymous. Pon luctum, Magdalena. Pon luctum, Magdalena. Et serena lacrimas, non est iam Simonis sina, non, cur fleetum exprimas, causi mil sunt latandi, 5 causi mil exultandi, hallelujah. Sum risum, Magdalena. Franz nightscat lucida, demigravit omnis pena, 10 lux coruscat fulgida, Christus mundum liberavit, et de mort triumphavit. Hallelujah. God plaud Magdalena. 15 tumba Christus exeat. Tristis est paracta scena, victor mortis redite, quem de flebis morientem, nunca ride resurgentum. 20 Hallelujah. Tolli vultum, Magdalena. Redivivum spice, vide, franzquam sidamina, quinqua plagas in spice, 25 fulgent, sic ut margariti, ornamenta novi vidae. Hallelujah. Vive, Magdalena. Tua lux reversa est, 30 gaudiis turgiscad vina, mortis vis abstersa est, maesti procul sunt dolores, laeti redient amores. Hallelujah. 35 Anonymous. Salve, caput cruentatum. Salve, caput cruentatum, totum spinis coronatum, conquacidum, vulneratum, arundine sic verberatum, facies sputus elida. 5 Salve, cuius dulcis vultus, immutatus et incultus, immutavit sum florem, totus versus in palarem, quem caeli trimit curia. 10. Omnis vigor ac vire hinc recessit, non in mirer, mors apparet in aspectu, totus pendens in defectu, atritus egvamasi. 15 Sic affectus, sic dispectus, proptimi sic interfectus, peccatori tam indigno cum amoris intersigno apar clara facie. 20. In hac tua passion me agnas, pastor bone, curious sumsi mel exor, hostum lactis ex dulcor pre omnibus delicious. 25 Non me reum asperneris, non indignum dedigneris, mor tibi iam vicina tuum caput hic acclina, in mais pausa brachiis. 30. Tui sancti passioni me gauderum interponi, in hac crus tecum mori presta crucis amatori, sub crus to a morier. 35 Mordi tuitam amri greats ago, yes a care, que yes clemens, pi deus, fac quat petitus reis, udi absci te non finir. 40. Dum me mori est necess, nali mihi tuncties, in tremenda mortis ora veni Jesu, absci mora, tura mi et libera. 45 Cum me yubs emigrer, yes a care, tunc apar, o amadir amplectend, tematipsum tunc ostend in cruz salutifera. 50 Bernard of Clairvaux. Jesus, the very thought of thee. Jesu, dulcis memoria, don vera cordis gaudia, sed super mel et omnia ias dulcis presentia. Nil canator suavius 5 auditor nil iacundius, nil cogitator dulcius, quam Jesus, Dei filius. Jesu, spes poenitentibus, quam pius es potentibus, ten quam bonus te querentibus, sed quid invenientibus? Jesu, dulcido cordium, fons vivis, lumen mentium, exceedens omni gaudium, 15 et omni desiderium. Nec lingua valedicera, nec litera exprimir, expertus potus credere quid sit isum deligere. 20. Jesu, decus angelicum, in or dulce canticum, in or mel mirificum, in cor nectar calicum. Desidero te millis. 25 Miles Jesu, quando venis? Me latum quando facies ut volta tua satis? Bernard of Clairvaux. Come, Holy Spirit, from above. Veni, Sancte Spiritus, et emit solitus Lucas to irradium. Veni, Pater Pauperum, veni, datum unirum, 5 Veni, lumen cordium. Consolator optimi, dulcis hosps animae, dulce refrigerium. In labor requis, 10 in est temporis, in fleetus solatium. O lux beatissima, repel cordis intimaturum fidelium. 15. Sign tua numini nihil est in homini, nihil est in axiom. Lava quod est sordidum, riga quod est aridum, 20 Sana quod est saucium. Flect quod est rigidum, fove quod est languidum, reg quod est devium. De tuis fidelibus 25 in te confidentibus sacrum septenarium. De virtutis meritum, de salutis exitum, de peren gaudium. 30 Robert II, King of France. Phoenix inter flammis experens. Tandem audite me, Sionis filii. Idram respicite, delecto dicite, amore vulnerer, 5 Amore funer. Huc odoriferos, huc soporiferos ramos de promite, rogos componite, 10 ut phoenix morier. Inflammis orier. An amor dolor sit, and dolor amor sit, utrumque nescio. 15 Hoc unum sentio, iucundus dolor est, si dolor amor est. Quid amor crucius? Alfra indicius. 20 Suavis tyrannus es, momentum, enus es, tam tarda funera tua sunt vulnera. I am vitae stamina 25 Rump, o anima. Ignis ascendere gestit, et tendera ad cali atria, haec mea patria. 30 Anonymous. Dies irae. Dies irae, dies illa solet seclum in favilla, test David cum Sibylla. Quantus tremor est futuris, quando iudex est venturis, 5 Cunctus strict discussuris. Tuba, mirum spargent sonum per sepulchra regionum, cogit omnes antithronum. Mors stupebit, edi natura, 10 Cum re surgit creatura judicanti respontura. Liber scriptus proferiter, in quo totum conteniter, unde mundus judicitor. 15. Iudex ergo cum sedebit, quidquid lateta parabit, nil in ultum remanebit. Quid sum miser tunc dicturis, quem patronum ragaturis, 20 Cum vix iestus sit securis? Rex tremendae maestatis, que salvandos salvos gratis, salva me, fons pietatis. Recordare, yes a pi, 25 Quod sum causet tui vai, eni me predas illa die. Quirens me sedisti lassus, redemisti crussum passus, tantus labor non sit cassus. 30. Just iudex ulciones, donum fac remissiones ante diem rationes. Ingemisco tanquam reis, culpa rubit vultus meus, 35 Supplicanti pars, Deus. Camarium absolvisti, et latrinem exodisti, mihi quoque spem didisti. Prex me non sunt digni, 40 sed tu bonus fac benign eni perenni Kramer igni. Inter ovs locum presta, et ab Hades me sequestra, statuens in part dextra. 45. Confutatus maledictus, flammus acrobus addictus, voca me cum benedictus. Oro supplex et acclinus, cor contritum quasi sinis, 50 gear curum me finus. Lacrimosa dies illa qua resurgit ex favilla iudicandis homo reus, huic ergo pars, deus. 55 Pi Jessa Domini, dona eos requi. Amen. Thomas of Celano. De patri caelestis laudi. The world is very evil. Ora novissima, tempora pessima sunt, vigilimus. Ecce menaciter imminent arbiter al supremus. Imminent et mala terminet, equa coronit, rector remunerit, antia liberit, ethera donit, offerat aspera durac pondera mentis oneste, 5 sobria muniat, improba puniat, utraceus. Al pissimus, al gravissimus, ecce. Venit rex. Surgit homo reus. Instat homo deus, a pater iudex. Brief life is here our portion. Hic breve vivitor, hic breve plangitor, hic breve fleder, non breve vivere, non breve plangir retribueter, ten o retributio. Stat brevis actio, vita perennis, o retributio. Caelica mantio stat luplinus, quid dater et cabus? Etheri gentibus et crus dignis, sidera vermibus, optima santibus, astra malignis. Sunt modo prelia, post modo premia, qualia? Plena, 15 plena refectio, nalac patio, nalac pena. Sp modo vivitor, et shaun angiter a babylon, nunc tribulatio, tunc recreatio, septra, coroni. For thee, O dear, dear country! O bona patria, lumina sobria te speculanter, ad tua nomina sobria lumina calacrimanter, 20 est tua mentio pectoris unctio, cura doloris, concipientibus ethera mentibus ignis amoris. Est ibi conceda loris et insitus cedrus hysopo, sunt radiantia iaspide moenia clara pyropo, hinc tibi sardius, in Tapasius, hinc amethystus, 25 est tua fabrica conchio caelica, gemme Christus. Lux tua mors crucis, ac caro ducis est crucifixi. Laus, benedictio, coni jubilatio personat ipsi. Tu sign litor, tu sign tempori, fons, modo rivus, dulce bonus sapis, est que tibi lapis undique vivus. 30 est tibi loria, dos dater aurea, sponsa decora, primique principis oscula suscipis, inspicis ora. Jerusalem the golden. Urb shaun aurea, patria lactea, civ decora, omni cor obruis, omnibus obstruis et cor et ora. Nescio, quae jubilatio, lux tibi qualis, 35 quam socialia gaudia, gloria quam specialis. Sunt shaun atria coniubilantia, martyr plena, civ micantia, principi stantia, lus serena. Urb shaun incluta, turis et edita litor tuto, t pito, t colorado, t flagro, t volo, canto, saludo. 40 me pater optimus ac pissimus al crevit, in lu partulit, ex lu sustulit, a lu lavit. Deluit omnia caelica gratia, fons David undans omnia deluit, omnibus afflut, omnia mundans. O mea, spes mea, tu shaun aurea, clarior oro, 45 agmen splendida, stans duce, florida papit loro. O bona patria, number tua gaudia tec vidibo. O bona patria, number tua premia plena tenebo. Plaud, sinus meus, est tua pars deus, ius es et sis. Plaud, sinus meus, est tua pars deus, ius es et sis. 50 Bernard of Cluny. The heavenly city. Mi receptet shaunilla, shaun, David urbs tranquilla, cuius faber octa lucus, cuius porte lignum crucis, cuius muri lapis vivus, 5 cuius custos rex festivus. In hac urb lux solenis, veriternum, pax perennis, in hac odor implens calos, in hac semper festum melas, 10 non est ibi corruptila, non defectus, non querila, non minuti, non deforms, omnes Christos sunt conforms. Urbs in porta satis tudo, 15 de longinquo ti saludo, ti suspiro, ti affecto, ti requiro. Quantum tui gratulanter, quam festive convivanter, 20 cos affectus eos stringat autque gemma muros pingit, cos chalcedon, cos iacynthus, norant illi cos sunt intis. In Platius huius urbis 25 sociatus pies turbis cum mois et elia piam cantem alleluia. Amen. Hildebert. Abbreviations. A and G equals Allen and Greeno's New Latin Grammar. B equals Bennett's Latin Grammar. G and L equals Gildersleeve and Lodge's Latin Grammar. Lex equals Harper's Latin English Lexicon. CF equals confer, compare. E.g. equals exempli gratia, for example. FF equals following. I equals IDS, that is. LL equals line, lines. Lit equals literally. P pages equals page, pages. SC equals silicet, understand, supply. Volume equals volume. Notes. Classical Latin poetry. I. Ennius. 239 to 169 BC. Ennius ut noster cessinit, caprimus amuino detulit ex helicone perenni front coronam, progentes italas hominum quae clara cluret. Lucretius 1. 117 to 119. Let us venerate Ennius like the groves, sacred from their antiquity, in which the great and ancient oak trees are invested not so much with beauty as with sacred associations. Quintilian, 10. 1, 88, translated by Seller. Q. Ennius, the father of Latin literature, was born at Rudi, a town of Calabria and a point of contact between the Italian and Greek civilizations. He served with the rank of centurion in the Roman army in Sardinia and attached himself to Cato the censor. In 204 he came to Rome, where he lived modestly, supporting himself by teaching Greek and by his writings. There he became an intimate friend of the great Scipio. The most famous of his works are the tragedies, written on Greek models, and the Annals, a long epic poem in 18 books, whose subject is the history of Rome from the earliest times to Ennius' own day. We have fragments of about 25 of the tragedies. Of the Annals, about 600 lines are preserved. Ennius introduced the dactylic hexameter into Latin poetry. He was versatile, widely read in Greek literature, a man of practical interests and intellectual vigor. His intense patriotism was rewarded by an enduring popularity. For reference, Seller, Roman Poets of the Republic, Oxford, 1889, Chapter 4, the collections of the fragments by Wahlen, Leipzig, 1854, and by Muller, St. Petersburg, 1885. Meters, dactylic hexameter, B. 368, A. and G. 615, selections 1 to 5. Trochaic septenarius, B. 366 2, A. and G. 620, selections 6, 7. Elegiac stanza, B. 368, 369, A. and G. 616, selection 8. 1. Lines of tender regret and true hero worship. Seller. Cf. Livy 1. 16, 2, 3. Prose translation in Seller, Roman Poets of the Republic, page 110. 3. Coelum, Genurunt, how great a guardian of our country did the gods create in the Seller. 4. O Pater, O Genitor, Pater is a title of respect, Genitor the actual parent. Sanguine, an anticlassic neuter collateral form of sanguis. 5. Intra luminis auras, within the realms of light, Seller, a favorite expression with later poets. 2. Sentiments truly regal and worthy of the race of the Acidae, Cicero, De Officiis 1. 12. This is Pyrrhus' reply to Fabricius and other envoys sent to negotiate for the ransom of the Roman prisoners after the Battle of Heraclea, 280 BC. Prose translation and fine comment in Seller, Roman Poets of the Republic, page 99. 1. Deteritus, perfect subjunctive in a prohibition. 2. Enici coponantes bellum, not making petty traffic of war. 3. Vitam, accusative of specification. 5. Accipe, to Fabricius, while Ducite 1, 8, is to all the envoys. 7. Earendum, scanned as 3 syllables. 8. Valentibus, dis, under favor of the great gods. Celer. Final S in Valentibus as in Vivus, selection 8, 2, is neglected in scanning. 4. These lines were often quoted. They are imitated by Virgil, Aeneid 6. 845 to 846. 2. Maximus alias, Unus canobus cunctando restituus rem. Prose translation in Celer, Roman Poets of the Republic, page 106. 1. Cunctando, by biding his time. Celer. Rem equals rem publicum. 2. Noenum equals ne, not plus enum, old form of unum 1. This eventually contracts into non. Rumors, what men said of him. Celer. 5. One of the grandest lines in Latin poetry. Cicero says of it, De Republica, 5.1 for brevity and for truth it is like the utterance of some oracle. 1. Moribus, virisque, by olden custom and great men Rome stands. Virisque of Sir William Jones, an ode in imitation of Alcaeus. What constitutes a state? Not high-raised battlement, nor labored mound, thick wall or moated gate, not cities fair with spires and turrets crowned, no, men, high-minded men, who their duties know, but know their rights, and knowing dare maintain. 6. From the Telamo, spoken by Telamon on receiving tidings of his son's death. Celer describes the passage as this strong and scornful triumph over natural sorrow. Prose translation in Celer, Roman Poets of the Republic, page 113. 1. I resuscitally, to that end, i.e. with full knowledge of the fact I bred them. Re dative b. 52 3a, ng. 98d note. 7. From the Telamo. This is Epicurean doctrine. Cf. Tennyson, The Lotus Eaters, Choric's song at end. Like gods together, careless of mankind. For they lie beside their nectar, and the bolts are hurled far below them in the valleys, and the clouds are lightly curled round their golden houses, girdled with the gleaming world, where they smile in secret, looking over wasted lands, blight and famine, plague and earthquake, roaring deeps and fiery sands, clanging fights, and flaming towns, and sinking ships, and praying hands. But they smile, etc. Prose translation in Celer, Roman Poets of the Republic, page 78. 1. Deum, genitive with which Cielitum agrees. 3. A beat, is not so. Celer. 8. Prose translation in Celer, Roman Poets of the Republic, page 76. Note the alliterations in the passage. 1. Decrumis, older form of lacrimis, and related to it as dingua to lingua. Nec, faxit, and let none weep at my funeral, faxit is perfect subjunctive. 2. Volito, virum, I still live as I fly along the lips of men. Cf. Virgil, Georgics 3, 9, Victorque virum voliter per ora, and Shakespeare, Sonnet 82. You still shall live, such virtue hath my pen, where breath most breathes, even in the mouths of men. 2. Lucretius. 98 to 55 BC. Felix, capatuit rerum cognoscere causas ac metus omnis et inexorable fatum subiesset pedibus strepitumque accurantis alvari. Virgil, Georgics 2. 490 to 492. He died chief poet on the Tiber side. Mrs. Browning, Vision of Poets. This doctrine of Lucretius, though antagonistic to the popular religion, is not atheistic or pantheistic. It is not definite enough to be theistic. It is rather the twilight between an old and a new faith. Celer, Roman Poets of the Republic, page 355. The joy and glory of his art come second in his mind to his passionate love of truth, and the deep moral purport of what he believes to be the one true message for mankind. The human race lies fettered by superstition and ignorance. His mission is to dispel their darkness by that light of truth which is clearer than the beams of the sun and the shining shafts of day. Mackay, Latin Literature, page 43. The De Rerum Natura, Lucretius' only work, left at his death unfinished, is a didactic poem in 6 books which aims to give an explanation of the origin and nature of the universe. All things are declared to be composed of atoms, even the soul, which is therefore mortal, and have been developed by a process of evolution and survival of the fittest under the uninterrupted control of natural law. Gods exist, but have little to do with the world. On the ethical side, contentment, self-control, obedience, humility are earnestly enjoined. The style abounds in archaism, alliteration, and assonance. The frequent use of new compounds is a noticeable peculiarity of the diction. Jerome states that the wife of Lucretius gave him a love philtre which took away his reason, so that, after composing in his lucid intervals several books, which were afterward corrected by Cicero, he died by his own hand. Seller is inclined to accept this story as a meager and distorted record of tragical events in the poet's life. On the basis of this legend and an appreciative study of the De Rerum Natura, Tennyson composed his Lucretius. For reference, Seller, Roman Poets of the Republic, chapters 11 to 14, Monroe, Text of Lucretius, with Notes and Introduction, 4th edition, Cambridge, 1886, Mackail, Latin Literature, New York, 1898, pages 44-46, Lucretius as Anticipating Theories of Modern Science. Meter, Dactylic Hexameter, B. 368, A. and G. 615. 1-2. Aneme, a locative form, B. 232, 3, A. and G. 358. 3. Thurso, C. Lex. 2. A and B. 5-10. Often imitated, as by Virgil, Georgics 3. 291-293, 5-6. Ment. Loca, I traverse and blooming thought the pathless haunts of the Pyrides. Monroe. 7. Juvat, I love. Monroe. 11-12. Artis Religionum Notis. Lucretius teaches that, since the gods do not govern the world, all rites of worship are needless, and since the soul is mortal, punishment after death is not to be feared. C.F. Tennyson, Lucretius. My Golden, C.F. Aurea, Selection 2. 12. Work in which I told the truth that stays the rolling Ixionian wheel, and numbs the Furies' ringlet snake and plucks the mortal soul from out immortal hell. Religio is probably derived from the root lig, meaning to bind. The Roman felt his religion to be a fetter upon him. 14. Contingens, Orlying, a compound of tango. Monroe. 2-2. Commoda, the true interests. Monroe. 3. O. Decus, Epicurus, who is praised in many passages. See Seller, Roman Poets of the Republic, page 298 ff. His bold and comprehensive thinking is characterized as follows: 1. 72-74. Ergo vivida vis animi previsit, et extra processit lunge flamantia moenia mundi ac omni immensum paragravit ment animoque. 6-7. Quid sickness, for in what respect could the swallow vie with swans? 8. Consimile, et. That could compare with. 16. Terrors of superstition. To remove these by demonstrating the uncontested supremacy in the universe of natural law is Lucretius' main purpose. Moenia ff. Lucretius thinks of the earth as at rest in the center of our system, or mundus, surrounded by the air in which move the moon and the sun. The air is encompassed by the fiery ether, or flamantia moenia mundi, the flaming walls of the world, which, as it rotates, carries the stars with it. Beyond is the illimitable inane, immensum inane, in which are set an infinite number of other worlds, and in the midst of these the dwellings where the gods live the great life, centered in eternal calm, Deos securum agira evum, 6:58. To the poet's instructed vision ether opens and earth becomes transparent. 18-24, inspired by Odyssey, 6:42-45, cf. Tennyson, Lucretius. The gods, who haunt the lucid interspace of world and world, where never creeps a cloud, or moves a wind, nor ever falls the least white star of snow, nor ever lowest roll of thunder moans, nor sound of human sorrow mounts to mar their sacred everlasting calm. And his description of the island valley of Avilion, where falls not hail, or rain, or any snow, nor ever wind blows loudly. In the passing of Arthur. Observe the melody of the Latin due to the skillful alliteration, and cf. Monroe's translation of it for a like effect. 25. Nusquam apparent, Lucretius has proved that they do not exist. 26. Nec, dispicienter, though earth is no bar to all things being descried. Monroe. 28, 29. Voluptas ac horror, delight mixed with shuddering awe. Monroe. 3, 1-4. Zephyr and Flora precedes spring and Venus. Vi, genitive of archaic form dependent on cuncta, translate as all the way. 5. Loci, partitive genitive after int, translate the two words by then. 8. Ailii, ventique, other stormy winds, i.e. Vulturnus and Auster. 10. Bruma, midwinter. 4. 1. Ergo, because of visions of the night and day and because of their observation of natural phenomena, men at large came to the incorrect belief that the gods govern the world. Lucretius denies the providence of the gods, not their existence. 2. Tradere, facere, infinitives used substantively in apposition to perfugium. 3. Templa, realms. 5. Severa, stern, austere. Properly the epithet of noctis, but poetically transferred to signa. 6. Faces, flammy, meteors. 7. The heaping up of substantives without a copula is not uncommon in Lucretius. 8. Fremidus, distant, rumbling thunder. Murmura magna minerum, the near loud, fretful thunderclaps. Monroe. Minerum is equivalent to a limiting adjective. 13. Velatum, the Romans prayed with covered head. 14. Vertere, middle. The reference is to a Roman custom by which the suppliant approached with the statue on his right. After praying, he turned to the right so as to face it and then prostrated himself. 17. Vota, votive tablets. 18. Ff. It is true piety, not to perform these rites, but to possess a tranquil mind, and this is difficult, for the grandeur and terror of nature are almost overwhelming. 20. Superfixum, fast above. Monroe. 21. Et viarum, and direct our thoughts to the courses of the sun and moon. Monroe. Viarum b. 206 3, 26. Rationes egestas, lack of power to solve the question. Monroe. 27. Genitalis origo, birth time. Monroe. 28. Quod, how long? 34. Contrahiter, shrink into itself. Monroe. 38. Corripient, like contrahiter, but stronger. 40. Poenarum, genitive depending on solvendi. 45. Viris quae ff, powers sufficient to, etc. Lucretius as observer and word painter. The following groups of phrases and sentences are given as illustrative of the accuracy, variety, and splendor of Lucretius' descriptions. 1. Shells on the shore. Conquerumt genus perilli ration vitamus pingier telluris gremium, quam malibus undis litoris incurvi bibulum pavit equor arnam. 2. 374 to 376. 2. The stars. Candida sidera. 5. 1210. Micandi turnis sidera mundi. 5. 514. Simul ac primum sub dio splendora quae poniter, extemplo caelo stellant serena sidera respondent in aqua radiantiamunt. 4. 211 to 213. Caeli labentia signa. 1 2. Fervida signa. 5. 628. Rarat persilum cum venti nubila portant tempori nocturno, tum splendida signa videnter labor adversum nimbos ac ire supern. 4. 443 to 445. Totum circum tremere ethera signis. 1. 1089. 3. The sky. Stellis fulgentibus apta concutitor caeli domus. 6. 357 to 358. Signiferi super etheris estis. 6. 481. Caeli lucida templa. 1. 1014. Altaque caeli densibent procula terris fulgentia templa. 5. 490 to 491. 4. The sun. Sol lumen concerit arva. 2. 210 to 211. Rosia sol alti lampade listens. 5. 610. Eternum lampade mundi. 5. 402. 3. Catullus. 84 to 54 BC. Odii et amo. Carmen 85. 1. Si temeni nobis aliquid nisi nomen et umbra resat, in alicia valle tabulus erit, obvius huic venias, hetera juvenalia cinctus tempora, cum calvo, doct Catull, tua. Ovid Amores 3. 9. 59 to 62. Tenderest of Roman poets, sweet Catullus. Tennyson, Frater Aiac Vale. Catullus is the greatest lyric poet of Roman literature. With the exception of c. 61, it is in his shorter poems that Catullus achieves his greatest success. The poet does not handle dactylic measures quite easily. On the other hand, he is masterly in the lighter lyrical forms. The harmony of substance and form, the refinement and transparent clearness of the thoughts, are incomparable, as are the grace, strength, and warmth of feeling in the shorter pieces. Teufel, Schwab, and War, History of Roman Literature, Volume 1, page 391 ff. Catullus, born at Verona in Cisalpine Gaul, came early to Rome, where most of his short life was spent. He has left us about 116 poems, most of them brief, but a few of considerable length. The ultimate preservation of these depended upon the fortunate rediscovery at Verona of a single copy. Several of them imitate the learned and artificial style of the Alexandrine school of Greek poetry. It is on this account that Ovid applies to him the epithet doctus. For reference, Seller, Roman Poets of the Republic, Chapter 15, Robinson Ellis, A Commentary on Catullus, 2d edition, Oxford, 1889, Merrill, Catullus, Boston, 1893, Ellis, Translation of Catullus, London, 1871. Meters, Phalician A. and G. 623, 624, 625. 11. Selections 1, 3, 4, 5. Choliambic A. and G. 618, A, B, C. Selection 6. Elegiac B. 369, 1, 2, A, and G. 616, Selections 2, 7 to 9. 1, 2. Appositast equals apposita est. The joke turns on the double meaning of opponere, to expose and to mortgage. We may render the passage as, my little farm is not exposed to the drafts of the south wind, but to a draft for, etc. 3. Apelioti, a Greek word for east wind, meaning from the sun, i.e. from the region where the sun rises. For declension CB, 22, A, and G, 44. 4. Descentos, SC sestitios. The sestitius was worth from 4 to 5 cents. 5. O ventum, pestilentum, O unhealthy draught. 2. Latin did not naturally use h at all with consonants nor favor its use before vowels. Greek, however, frequently employs the aspirated consonants ch, ph, and th as well as the rough breathing, and though in earlier times the Romans were satisfied to take Greek words over into their language without aspirating, e.g. Corinthus 4, Greek, Corinthos, in later times aspirating became a fashion. Of this fashion Arius is an unskillful follower, who, while believing himself to be achieving a fine reputation for good form, makes himself a target for the ridicule of Catullus. 1. Velet, imperfect subjunctive in the protasis of a general condition, b. 302 1 3 a, and g. 518 c. 3. Sparabat, he used to flatter himself. 4. Quantum poterat, with might and main. Arius makes all the display that he can of his elegant accomplishment. 5. Liber, implying that Arius' uncle had been a slave and that the family is of humble origin. Catullus thus intimates that what Arius thinks an accomplishment really stamps him as of low birth. 7. Misso, sent to Syria on some public service, perhaps with Crassus in 55 BC 8. Audibant, b. 116 4 b, a, and g. 183 1. Leniter et leviter, The devotees of the aspirating fashion whom Arius had left behind in Rome were not so obtrusive about it as he did not speak out quantum poterit. 9. Postilla equals postia. 11. Ionios. News of Arius would come soon from the Ionian Sea, for, lying as it did to the west of Greece, it would soon be reached by him on his eastward journey. Ised B. 116 1a, and G. 181b. The following is Martin's translation. Whenever Arius wished to name Commodius, out Commodius came, and when of his intrigues he blabbed, with his intrigues our ears he stabbed, and thought, moreover, he displayed a rare refinement when he made his H's thus at random fall with emphasis most guttural. When suddenly came news one day which smote the city with dismay, that the Ionian seas a change had undergone, most sad and strange, for, since by Arius crossed, the wild Ionian Ocean they were styled. 3.1. Veneers, the plural is symmetrical with Cupidines, while suggesting the graces. 2. Et. Venusiorum, and all who have a soul for beauty. Homonym, partitive genitive. Venusiorum, B. 241a, and G. 291a. The expression describes those who possess qualities of grace and charm, and implies that they can appreciate such qualities. 3. Puelli, probably Clodia, wife of Q. Caecilius Metellus Celer, to whom under the name of Lesbia Catullus addressed a number of poems. His attachment for her was the one all-absorbing passion of the poet's life. 6. Melodus, a honey. Swank, his lady. Catullus speaks of the sparrow in language appropriate to a lover. 11. Iter tenebricosum, the shadowy journey to Hades. 12. Cf. Hamlet 3. 1. The undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns. 13. Ad tenebri, evil be to you, evil shadows. 17. To opera for you, i.e. for the sparrow, ablative of cause. 18. Turgidly, ocelli, my girl's pretty eyes are so red and swollen. 4. 2. Antistands, Trecentus, worth 1,000,000 of the rest to me. Millibus, depends on antistands, B. 187.31a, and G. 370. 4. Annum, aged, used as an adjective. 5. Mini, B. 188c.a, and G. 378.1, Nuntii, plural, though for a single message. 6. Hybrum, genitive plural. 7. Facta, deeds. 8. Adplicans column, i.e. with arm about your neck drawing you to me. 10. Cf. 1, 2 and note on Venusiorum. Translate O. Of happy, happy mortals. 11. Quid, a neuter not very rare in Latin in similar sweeping appeals. Merrill. 5. Date 56 BC 1. Aegialidos, in which there is no chill. 4. Catullus is at the end of a year of absence in Bithynia on the staff of Memmius the governor, and is about to return to Italy. Phrygiae Campi, the plains about Nicaea. 6. Clara's Asiae Urbs, the famous Greek cities on the western coast of Asia Minor, as Ephesus, Smyrna. 7. Pretrepidans, tremulous with anticipation. 9. Commodum, the other members of the governor's staff, or course. 11. Diversi vari, separate and varied. 6. Date 56 BC Sirmione. Sirmio is a peninsula, at high water an island, extending into the Lago di Garda, Lake Hispanicus. An ancient ruin here of Constantine's time was long known as Catullus Villa. Cf. with this and the 9th selection Tennyson's Frater, Aveac Vale. Row us out from Desenzano, to your Sirmione row! So they rowed and there we landed, O Venusta Sirmio. There to me through all the groves of olive in the summer glow, there beneath the Roman ruin where the purple flowers grow, came that Aveac Vale of the poet's hopeless woe, tenderest of Roman poets 1900 years ago, Prater, Aveac Vale, as we wandered to and fro gazing at the Lydian laughter of the Garda Lake below's sweet Catullus Albert Island. Olive silvery Sirmio. 1. 2. Peninsularum, ocel, pearl of all peninsulas. Pen is used as an adjective by a Greek construction, A, and G. 321, c. Cf. Ovid Heroids 15.357 Peen Pure. Ocel, cf. Milton, Paradise Regained, 4, 240, Athens, The Eye of Greece. 3. Fert Neptunus, Twin Real Mead Cransdown, Neptune upholds in lakes or sea. Fert, Poseidon, according to Homer, is the earth upholding. Cf. Exodus 20.4 The water under the earth. Euturk, i.e. as god of Stagna, lakes, and of Mare. 5. Thynium, the part of Bithynia on the shore of the Thracian Bosporus. 6. Lycis, the poets are fond of using uncompounded forms of verbs. Cf. 5.4 Linquanter. 7. Curries, the form of expression suggests that the cares now past are, as past, actual pleasures. Ellis. 8.9. Peregrine labor, the toil of travel. Larum, the home, lit. The household god. 11. Hoc, tantes, this it is that of itself is a compensation for so great labors. 12. Venusta, Ellis praises the beauty of Sirmio, with its high cliffs descending into the transparently blue water, and the exquisite color of the surrounding land and sky. Ere, God, be glad for thy master, i.e. thy master bids thee rejoice. 13. Lydi, the shores of the lake were once occupied by Etruscans, and they were said to have come originally from Lydia. The epithet is transferred from Lacus to Undi. 14. Quicquid cacanorum, the clause is to be taken as a vocative. 7.2. Calvus was an accomplished orator and poet. Of his literary work almost nothing remains. He was Catullus' intimate friend and is often mentioned with him. 3. Desiderio, yearning in apposition to dolor, defining and specializing it. 4. Ola Mrs., lost in bygone days, Mrs. equals a Mrs. Cf. Selection 6, 6 and note. 6. Quintilia, Calvus' young wife. Calvus himself wrote elegies in her memory. 8. This poem was sent to Hortensius introducing a translation from the Greek poet Callimachus, which is possibly Carmen 66 and of the Coma Berenices. 2. Ortale, Q. Hortensius Ortulus, Cicero's chief rival as an orator. Virginibus, the Muses. 3. Fetus Fruitage. 4. Mens animi, my thoughtful soul. Cicero, De Republica, 2.40.67, describes the mens as pars animi. 5. 6. Letheo Gurgite Manenzunda, the waves slow streaming from the gulf of oblivion. The river of death which the brother of Catullus has just crossed, Catullus says forded, to return no more, is called Lethean, Greek, Lethe, forgetfulus, since the dead forget the living, and the living the dead. 6. Poligulum, poor, pallid foot. 7. Redio, Redium was a promontory of the Troad. 8. Obdurate crushes. 13. Dahlias, the nightingale, lit. The transformed woman of Daulis. Catullus has taken this name from the legend of Tyrus, see Harper's Classical Dictionary, Tyrus, while he has followed the myth as it appears in Odyssey, 19. 518 ff., where the plaintive song of the nightingale is represented as the lamentation of Eden for her child Italus, whom before her transformation into the nightingale she slew unwittingly with the bronze. 15. Haec expressa Carmina Badiati, these verses translated from Callimachus. Callimachus of Cyrene, the son of Battus, was a Greek poet of the Alexandrine school. His death occurred about 240 BC 16. Niciquem, ventis, i.e. ineffectual. 9. An invocation accompanying offerings at the tomb of the poet's brother. Merrill. Catullus probably made this visit to the Troad on his Bithynian journey. Date, probably 57 BC 2. Miseras ad inferias, for these sad offerings. The inferi, or offerings to the dead, consisted of wine, milk, blood, honey, flowers, etc. 4. Niciquem, no answer would be returned. 6. Indine wrongfully, because his death was premature. 7. Nymptomen interia, but now while I thus am sorrowing, interia, as in 14. 21, 36. 18. And series 44 ff., marks the transition from reflection upon a situation to the act which that situation demands at the moment. 9. Multum menantia, drenched. 10. Ave ac veil, the formula of farewell to the dead, spoken at the conclusion of the funeral ceremonies. Cf. Virgil, Aeneid 11. 97 ff. 4. Virgil. 70 to 19 BC. Roman Virgil, thou that singest Alion's lofty temples robed in fire, Alion falling, Rome arising, wars, and filial faith, and Dido's pyre. Thou that singest wheat and woodland, tilth and vineyard, hive and horse and herd, all the charm of all the muses often flowering in a lonely word. Poet of the happy Tityrus piping underneath his beechen bowers, poet of the poet satyr whom the laughing shepherd bound with flowers. I salute thee, Mantovano, I that loved thee since my day began, wilder of the stateliest measure ever moulded by the lips of man. Tennyson to Virgil. Virgil, as the author of the Bucolics and the Aeneid, is already known to the student. The Georgics were composed after the former and before the latter, since they were begun in 36 BC and finished in 29 BC. Hesiod's works and days supplied a partial model, and the influence of Lucretius was powerful. The poet shows an intense enthusiasm for his subject, which Mr. Merivale asserts to be the glorification of labor. The first book treats of the tillage of the ground, the second of the culture of trees and of the vine, the third of the care of the animals bred by the farmer, and the fourth and last of beekeeping. Elegant episodes diversify the poem, the longest of which we extract. The dedication of the Georgics is to Maecenas. Their extent is about 2,200 lines. For reference, Conington's Virgil, 5th edition, revised by Haverfield, George Bell and Sons, London, 1898, Volume 1, pages 135 to 165, and notes upon Georgics, 4. 315 to 558. Meter, dactylic hexameter, B. 368, A. and G. 615. 1. Servius twice tells us, Eclogues 10. 1 and Georgics 4. 1. That the poet Cornelius Gallus was Virgil's friend, and that the latter half of the fourth Georgic was originally written in his praise, but that this was suppressed at the command of Augustus and the tale of Aristeas substituted. Gallus, we remember, appears in the 6th and 10th Eclogues. The story of his disgrace by the emperor and his suicide is a familiar one. Aristeas, having lost his bees by disease and hunger, is commanded by the nymph Cyrene, his mother, to obtain from the sea god Proteus the reason for this manifestation of divine displeasure. He learns that it is because Eurydice, the wife of Orpheus, has perished as a result of his amorous pursuit, and the story of Orpheus' descent to the lower world to recover her is narrated to him. Then Cyrene instructs him how to secure a new swarm. 1. Hanc Artem. This method of obtaining new swarms of bees by slaying cattle and allowing bees to form in their decaying bodies. 3. Peniae Tempo. Tempe is a beautiful valley in Thessaly through which the river Peneus flows. 5. Extreme, i.e. the rising river. Amnis, the Peneus. 7. Gergitis, flood. 9. Thymbrius. Thymba was a city near Troy where there was a temple of Apollo. 10. Fatus, by the Fates, B. 189 2, A. and G. 375. Nostri, objective genitive, 11. Coelum sperare, Aristeas was deified after death. 12. Honorem, honor from the possession of wealth. 14. Relinquo, leave with reluctance, lose. 15. Quin age, why not go on? An ironical remonstrance. 17. Molire, wield, imperative. 18. Tadia, loathing of my praise, B. 55 4 C. The plural expresses the aversion on each occasion. 19. Thalamos sub, in the deep river's chamber. Sub governs Thalamo, but follows it. Cyrene, as daughter of the river god Peneus, dwells in subterranean chambers at the source of that stream. She is at this time in the Thalamo described in 60 ff. Aristeas enters through the river, thought of as emerging from the earth a full-grown stream, the waters arching over his head to admit him. He passes beneath the earth where he sees groves and lakes, and rivers which are presently to issue as the various streams of the upper world. 20. Milesia, the wool of Miletus, a city on the west coast of Asia Minor, was famous. 21. Carpabent, where plucking the fleeces, i.e., spinning. Hyale, color, dyed with the rich, glass green color. 22. A similar catalogue of names is in Iliad, 18. 39. Drymoke. K is long according to Greek usage before the double consonant beginning the next word. 28. Oro ff, arrayed in skins embroidered with threads of gold. 31. Odyssey 8. 34. Malia pensa, their soft tasks. Silex. Pendo 2, pensum b1. 35. Impulet, struck his mother's ears. 39. Procul, sc dixit. Frustra, idly, without reason. 42. Nomine, ablative of specification. 43. Nova, strange. 44. Age, quick. 46. Qua ff, purpose clause, that the youth might enter there. 48. Misit, let him pass, lit. Send him. He enters the earth through the opening by which the Peneus finds exit. 52. Sub terra, so Plato in the myth of the Phaedo conceives of rivers as penetrating the depths of the earth. 53. Ff for the rivers named Silex. 57. Cornua, accusative of specification. Vultu, dative b. 49 2, a, and g. 89. 60. In thalami pendentia pumice tecta, tecta may be regarded either as participle or noun. In the former case, thalami tecta, the covered things of the chamber, equals thalamum teclum, the covered chamber, as strata viarum equals strati vii, pendentia pumice tecta, roofs or covered things hanging with pumice, ablative of instrument, equals pendant pumice tecta, roofs of hanging pumice, ablative of description. Translate, into the chamber roofed with arching pumice. 61. Ignes, since so easily removed, accusative plural. 63. Tunsis, villis of shorn nap, smooth and soft. 64. One rant b. 254 4a, and g. 317 d. 65. Panchius ignibus, incense burning flames. Panchaea was a fabulous island, east of Arabia, rich in incense. 66. Et mater, sc dixit. Meonii, Lydian. Bacchae, the wine, as vestum 1. 70 is the fire, the deities being named for that over which they preside. 69. Centum, simply expressing a large number. 71. Subiecta, shooting up. 73. Ff this part of the story has its original in Odyssey 4. The Carpathian Sea is between Crete and Rhodes. 74. Carolulius, an epithet applied to Proteus as a god of the Azure Sea. 75. The yoked chariot of two-footed steeds equals the chariot yoked to two-footed steeds. 77. Palanin, a peninsula of Amathia, or Macedonia. 79. Quae, Trahanter, what in the near future is drawn on in the chain of events. 83. Even tusk secundit, and may make the issue favorable. 94. Fulva service, ablative of description. 101. Ambrosia, used as an ointment, as Iliad 14. 170. Aeneid, 12.419. 102. Produxit, anointed, lex. Perduco I c. 1. 105. 106. Quo, reductos, whither many a billow marches before the wind and divides into files that fall back, cogo, and reductos may be used in a military sense. The wind is the rearguard of the marching files of billows formed as the main wave enters an indentation in the shore. As the wave divides, all the secondary waves pursue the original direction, but the outer ones are retarded, as compared with the middle ones, and seem to fall back. Statio, just below, is familiar as a military term. Or reductos sinus can mean the depths of the bay. 107. Deprensis, weatherbound. 108. Vasti, obius saxi, by the barrier of a vast rock, i.e., behind a rock. 109. Avram illumin, in the darkness. 114. Faucibus, i.e., the deep-cut channels. Perhaps the author intends with a bold personification to speak of the almost dried-up rivers as dry-throated. 6is faucibus would then be well taken as ablative of description. 115. Entra, plural in view of the many chambers. 117. Rorum amrum, the bitter dew, beautifully used of the salt spray. 121. Acunt, wet the wolves, i.e. their hunger. 131. Nam cos equals quisnum, who pray? Surprise is expressed. 133. Nec est, nor is it possible, used with infinitive, in Greek construction, lex. 1 sum ib 5 6 e 135. Lacies rebus, shattered fortunes. 137. Glauco, azure. 139. Non nihilius, double negative for greater emphasis. It is in very truth the wrath of a god that pursues thee. Ire be 55 4 c a and g 100 c 141. Haud quoquam obi meritum poenas, penalties by no means on account of thy guilt, i.e. less than thy guilt. 147 to 149. Rhodope and Pangaeus are mountains, the Getia tribe, Hebrus a river, all in Thrace. Athenian Orithyia, daughter of Erechtheus, king of Athens, was carried by Boreas to Thrace, where she bore Calais and Zetz. As a nymph of the country, she is interested in the fate of the Thracian Orpheus and Eurydice. 153. Taenarias, a cavern on the promontory of Taenaris in Laconia, was fabled to be the entrance of the infernal regions. 157. Araby, Greek, Erebos, a place of darkness, i.e. the lower world. 159 FFCF Aeneid 6. 309 to 312. 161 FFCF Aeneid 6. 306 to 308. 165 FFCF Aeneid 6. 438 to 439. 167, 168. Intima ledi tartara, the inmost prison cells of death. Crinibus, dative. Anguis, accusative of specification. 169. Eumenides, the Furies, deities who punish crime, even they are moved by Orpheus' song. Cerberus, the three-headed dog at the entrance of Hades who kept the spirits from escaping. 171. Ixion, for an attempt upon the chastity of Juno, was bound to an ever-evolving wheel. Vento, ablative of cause. The logic is loose, because of the wind stopping. 173. Pone, adverb. Cf. Aeneid 2. 208. 177. Aneme, locative genitive, b. 232 3 a, and g. 358. 179. Stagnus, ablative of source. 182. Natantia, swimming. 188. Praeteria vidit, saw him more, praeteria here equaling postia. 192. Nabit, was sailing. 194. Strymones, a river on the borders of Thrace. 196. Aegyptum, that trees followed the music of Orpheus became one of the commonplaces of poetry. 197 to 201. Notice the sweetness of sound due to the alliteration, especially of the liquids. 202. Hymenei, nuptials. 203. Hyperboreas, Hyperborean, i.e. northern, lit. Beyond the north wind. Taname, now the Don, a river named here, as are the Ripii monies of the following line, because belonging to the cold, distant, desolate north. 204. Numquam vidata, never bereaved, with the thought of the bereaved Orpheus. The setting corresponds to the situation. The grim landscape is forever wedded to its desolation as Orpheus to his bereavement. 206. Psychonum, a Thracian people. Munera, tribute to the dead. The word is used technically of funeral honors. 206 to 213. Cf. Lycidas, 61 to 63. By the route that made the hideous roar his gory visage down the stream was sent, down the swift Hebrus to the Lesbian shore. 210. Oiagrius. Oiagrius was a king of Thrace and father of Orpheus. 213. Referabint, echoed with. Cf. Pope, Ode on St. Cecilia's Day, 113 to 116. Yet even in death Eurydice he sung, Eurydice still trembled on his tongue, Eurydice the woods, Eurydice the floods, Eurydice the rocks, and hollow mountains rung. 214. Iactudidit, Ieiasit. 219. Choros, agitabat, used to dance. Agito means to occupy oneself with, as Plautus, Asinaria 5. 1-7. 221. Nepias, del nymphs, Greek, Nepai, belonging to a wooded vale. 225. Lycae, a mountain of Arcadia. 234. Phases sit, he dispatches. 235 to 239. The repetitions from 224 to 232 are in the Homeric manner. 241 ff. The bees are thought to form within the bodies and to force their way through the yielding sides. 244. Juvum demitera, to let fall a cluster. The cluster formed by the bees when they alight in swarming resembles a bunch of grapes. V. Phaedrus. Flourished about 15 AD. Phaedrus, born in Thrace, came to Rome as a slave, and was set free by Augustus. Under Tiberius he was the victim of political persecution on account of some verses offensive to Sejanus. He published 5 books of fables, with occasional anecdotes, largely imitated from Aesop. His style is fluent, his tone lively and sometimes coarse, his diction correct, his verse skillful. Tuffel, Schwab, and War, History of Roman Literature, Volume 2, page 30. For reference, Tuffel, Schwab, and War, History of Roman Literature, Volume 2, page 29 ff. Meter, iambic trimeter B, 371-2 A, and G, 618 A B. 1. Aesopus, a famous writer of fables, born in Phrygia about 600 BC. He is said to have been liberated from slavery, to have lived at Sardis, and to have been Croesus' ambassador to Delphi, where he was murdered by the angry townspeople, who hurled him over a precipice. Babrius, a Greek who lived about 100 BC, made a comprehensive collection of Aesopian fables which Phaedrus imitated with considerable closeness. 5-7. Let no one censure me for representing trees as speaking, it is merely the play of fancy and a fable. 2-4. Latro, the robber wolf. 7. How? Is the old ablative of the relative, interrogative, and indefinite pronouns. 4-1. Devicat allures. 3. Tanto, melior, that is good. See lex. Under tantus size c 3a b 4. Prosecutus, and went on to say. See lex. Under prosequer 2b 5. Unde, equivalent to a quo. 7. Dignum ff, with a double meaning. 10. Nam k4, a strengthened nam. 5. This story is also told by Cicero, De Orator 2. 352 ff, and by others. 1-2. Quantum, Superius, an earlier fable for 23, relates how Simonides, shipwrecked and destitute, was received most hospitably by one of his admirers. 4. Simonides, the renowned Greek lyric poet of Ceos. His ode upon those who fell at Thermopylae was especially famous. Sterling translates, of those who at Thermopylae were slain, glorious the doom, and beautiful the lot, their tomb an altar, men from tears refrain to honor them, and praise, but mourn them not. Such sepulchre nor drear decay nor all-destroying time shall waste, this right have they. Within their grave the homebred glory of Greece was laid. This witness gives Leonidas, the Spartan, in whose story a wreath of famous virtue ever lives. 5. Picti, a word borrowed directly from the Greek. 8. Pote more, poets who wrote odes in honor of victories at the games usually inserted some legend containing an account of a similar victory won by a god or a hero. 9. Gemma Lidi Pignera, Castor and Pollux, the latter famous as a boxer. Pignera see lex. 2b1. 10. Auctoritatem, glory, citing the authority of a like glory. 11-12. Tertium partem, only a third. 13. De sc partes 2/3. 24. Humanum supra formani, The gods and heroes were divinely tall. The diminutive Servillo is in strong contrast. 31. Ut. Re, when the incident was told just as it occurred. Another story of divine interposition on the part of Castor and Pollux is vividly told by Macaulay in the Battle of Lake Regillus. 6. Compare with Virgil's account of the oracle given by the Sibyl to Aeneas, Aeneid 6. 9. Some of the more obvious resemblances in diction and thought are Aeneid 6. 12, 29, 35, 44, 45, 46 50, 95, 98, 99, 100. 1. Utilius, equaling a superlative, of highest value. 2. Kff. Delphi was a city in north-central Greece and Parnassus a mountain near it. 4. Tripods. This probably means the golden seat above the cleft in the ground in the adytum of Apollo's temple at Delphi. On this the priestess, Vates 1, 3, Virgo 1, 16, sat to breathe the rising vapors which induced the prophetic ecstasy. The tripos is named from being supported on 3 legs. Adytus, from Greek, aduton, not to be entered. The adyta, or innermost parts of temples, were accessible only to priests. 5. Lauri, the laurel was sacred to Apollo. 6. Pytho, the former name for Delphi. Pytho is poetically said to speak when the Pythian priestess speaks. 7. Delos, an island of the Aegean, nearly at the center of the Cyclades, was sacred to Apollo, and was his birthplace. 12. Id Avium, oppose. 7. Plutarch, Symposiacum Problematum, v. 1, Moralia, 674 b.c., tells essentially this same story. Parmeno, he says, was famous for his imitation of the grunting of a pig. Even when one came upon the stage having a real pig concealed under his cloak, the audience cried, "This is nothing to compare with the sow of Parmeno." Then he who had the pig threw it in the midst of them, to show that they judged according to opinion and not truth. 1. Prevo favor prejudice. Labi. The metaphor is in evident contrast to that instant of 1. 2. Pro iudicio, erroris, in defense of their mistaken judgment. 3. Rebus manifestus, the disclosure of the truth. 4. Facturus ludos, who was about to give an entertainment. 8. Scura, a city wit. Urbanos sale, clever jesting, merry cleverness. The Romans sharply contrasted city manners with those of the country to the disadvantage of the latter. 12. Loca seats. 18. Verum, sc porcellum. Palio, mantle or toga. 19. Simul, equals simul ac 21. Prosequenter, honor. 27. Degrunnit, grunts his best. 30. Silicet, to be sure. 32. Vero, sc porcello. 35. Imitatum, sc. 6. Seneca. 3b.c. 65 AD. Seneca the Younger, or the philosopher, was born in Spain at Córdoba, was educated at Rome, was banished in 41 AD to Corsica by Claudius, was recalled in 49, became Nero's tutor, largely deserves the credit for the good government of the early part of that emperor's reign, was consul in 57, but lost influence with Nero, and was compelled by him to commit suicide on a charge of participation in the conspiracy of Piso. His writings are chiefly philosophical and ethical. The frequent close resemblance of his views to those of Christianity occasioned the fabrication of a correspondence between himself and St. Paul. St. Jerome considered this genuine, and therefore included him among the Christian saints. 9 tragedies of Seneca's composition are extant. These have powerfully influenced the development of the English and French drama. His style is forced and ornamental, moving, for the most part, in brief, disconnected, and often paradoxical sentences. For reference, Tuffel, Schwab, and War, History of Roman Literature, Volume 2, page 38 ff. Leo, L. Aeneis Senecae Tragedii, Berlin, 1878–1879, Sherborne's Tragedies of Seneca translated, London, 1702, Kingery, 3 Tragedies of Seneca, New York, 1908, Harris, The Tragedies of Seneca translated, The Clarendon Press, 1904. Meters, Anapestic dime to acatalectic with anapestic dipody, G, and L. 777, 780, 782, Selection 1. Dactylic hexameter, B. 368, A, and G. 615, Selection 2. 1. Cf. Horace, Carmen 1. 3, 9-40. 1. Audax, cf. LL 2439. Nimium, cf. 8. 7-8. With too slight a partition dividing the ways of life and death, i.e., separating from himself by merely a thin plank the sea in which he would perish. Cf. Juvenal, 12. 57-59. Line 7 nearly equals inter vitam et mortem. 18. Hyadas, a group of 7 stars in the head of Taurus, whose setting at both the morning and the evening twilight was attended with storms. 19. Olini, Capre, one of the horns of the goat Amalthea, which fed Jupiter with its milk, was placed among the stars. The goat was Olenian, i.e. Tolian. 21. Attica Plaustra, Charles's Wain, the Great Dipper, which Bodes was imagined to drive. The latter constellation is called Tardus as being so placed in the sky that it requires a long time for its setting. 24. Typhus, the pilot of the Argo. 28. Thessala Pinus, the Argo, the first ship, which, built under the direction of Pallas, with Jason as leader and heroes like Hercules, Castor, and Pollux as crew, sailed to Colchis in the Far East in quest of the Golden Fleece, which perhaps originally meant the fleecy, golden clouds of sunrise. The Sirens, Scylla, and the Symplegades were some of the dangers of the journey. Medea, daughter of the king of Colchis, aided Jason to secure the fleece and fled with him. C. Smith, Dictionary of Greek and Roman Biography and Mythology, Argonauti. 32. Illa, the Argo. 34. Montes, the Symplegades, floating rocks at the entrance of the Euxine, which clashed together to crush whatever might come between them. 36. Velo sonitu, groaned as with ethereal sound, i.e. dashed together with a sound like thunder. 38. Mer de Prensum, the sea caught between and forced up by the closing rocks. 42. In the prow of the Argo was a piece of the speaking oak of Dodona. 43. Virgo Pelori Scylla. 45. Omnes, hiatus, opened all her mouths together. 48. Diary Pests, the sirens, maidens who by sweet songs lured sailors to their shore and devoured them. Orpheus saved his companions by drowning the siren's song with the music of his lyre. These stories are told in Odyssey, 12, in Apollonius Rhodius for 889 ff, and in English, in Charles Kingsley's Greek Heroes. 55. Medea, abandoned by Jason for Creusa, in the later action of this play slays her rival and her own children. 68-72. Thule, a distant island not identified, possibly Iceland, more probably the largest of the Shetland Islands, regarded by the ancients as the northern limit of the known world. Seneca, considering the progress of maritime discovery in the past, was led naturally to the thought that new lands would someday be discovered beyond the ocean. The conception was not new. Cicero, Tusculani Disputations, 1. 28, speaks of a south temperate zone, cultivated and inhabited, unknown to us. This, of course, is not necessarily beyond the sea, though Mela places it there. Cicero again in De Republica, 6. 20 implies that there are other islands than the Roman world surrounded by other seas than the Atlantic. Plato, Timaeus, 24-25 says that beyond and surrounding the Atlantic there is a vast continent, between which and the western coast of Europe and of Libya are a number of islands, of which Atlantis before its submergence was the largest. Strabo 1. 4. 6 says it is quite possible that in the temperate zone there may be not only the island that forms the world as known to his contemporaries, but two such or even more, especially near the circle of latitude which is drawn through Athens and the Atlantic Ocean. C. Smith, Dictionary of Greek and Roman Geography, Atlanticum Mare and Atlantis. Lowell, in his Columbus, represents the discoverer as naming this passage said also by tradition to have made a deep impression on his mind, along with Canto 26 of Dante's Inferno and Plato's Timaeus and Critias, as inspiring him to his attempt. Then did I entertain the poet's song, my great idea's guest, and passing o'er that iron bridge the Tuscan built to hell, I heard Ulysses tell of mountain chains whose adamantine links, his manacles, the western main shook growling and still nod. I brooded on the wise Athenian's tale of happy Atlantis, and heard Bjorn's keel crush the grey pebbles of the Vinland shore. I listened musing to the prophecy of Nero's tutor victim, and I believed the poets. The son of the discoverer wrote in his copy of the tragedies opposite these lines, "This prophecy was fulfilled by my father, the Admiral Christopher Columbus, in the year 1492. 2. Agamemnon returns to Argos after the capture of Troy, his wife Clytemnestra expressing deep joy at his return. He has brought with him as a captive Cassandra the seer who, suddenly swooning, sees in prophetic frenzy Agamemnon's death and her own at the hand of Clytemnestra and her paramour, Aegistheus. Agamemnon worships Jupiter and Juno at the altar and then enters the palace to his death. 1-2. Tandem, Terra. Cf. Aeschylus, Agamemnon, 503 ff, 810 ff. Laris, Roman coloring. 3. Dio, taken with Felix. 4. Agi, objective genitive, after potentes, b. 204 1a, and g. 349a 5. Vates, Cassandra. Corpus, accusative of specification. 7. Recipit diem, i.e. revives. 9. Optatus ff, with a double meaning to the audience. 10. Festus ff, Troy fell immediately after the festivities that celebrated the withdrawal of the Greek fleet. Cf. Aeneid 2. 246 ff 11. Cecedit ff, for the death of Priam. Cf. Aeneid 2. 506 ff 13. Priamum, King Agamemnon's fate is to be such as King Priam's. Priam was slain at the altar, and these altars, Eris 1. 11, awakened forebodings. 14. Ubi ff, where faithless wives are, is calamity. 15. Libertas, the freedom of death. 19. Dum excutiat deum, until she casts off the influence of Apollo who has thrown her into the prophetic frenzy. 21. Pater, Jupiter. 24. Cuncta, accusative of specification. 25. Argolica Juno, Hera had a famous shrine at Argos. For an account of excavations there see Waldstein, the Argive Helium. 26. Erebump Danis, incense. Supplice fibra, the entrails of the sacrificed animals, pecore votivo, whose condition was supposed to indicate the will of the gods. 7. Lucan. 39-65 AD. Lucan, full of warmth and vehemence, eminently quotable, but, to speak frankly, one whom orators rather than poets should imitate. Quintilian 10. 190. When I consider that Lucan died at 26, I cannot help ranking him among the most extraordinary men that ever lived. Macaulay. The whole production, the Pharsalia, is youthful and unripe, but indicative of genuine power. Tuffel, Schwab, and War, History of Roman Literature, Volume 2, page 78. Lucan was born in Spain, was taken early to Rome, was carefully educated, wrote much, and was much admired, but was disliked by Nero, who forbade him to publish poems or recite them, and finally put him to death on the charge of complicity in the conspiracy of Piso. In philosophy Lucan was a Stoic, in style a rhetorician. The Pharsalia, his only extant work, is an epic poem of about 8,000 lines in 10 books on the civil war between Pompey and Caesar. The Cato of selections 2-5 is Cato the Younger, or the Stoic, who in 46 BC was in Africa in command of a part of the Republican forces opposed to Julius Caesar. After the decisive defeat at Thapsus he refused to survive the Republic, taking his own life at Utica. His memory was revered throughout antiquity and the Middle Ages. Virgil makes him the lawgiver of Elysium, Aeneid 8, 670, and Dante represents him as the warden of purgatory, venerable, his countenance adorned with the rays of the 4 consecrated stars, his form destined to shine brightly on the last day. For her, i.e. liberty, to thee not bitter was death in Utica, where thou didst leave the vesture that will shine so, the great day. See Longfellow's translation of the Purgatorio, with notes, Canto 1. Haskins, Lucani Pharsalia, Introduction, pages 59 to 60, examines all allusions to Cato in the Pharsalia, and concludes that the picture is in its main outlines truthful, though the failure to depict the cross-grained perversity that moved the complaints of Cicero makes it somewhat one-sided. Of course the portrait is colored by a loving hand, but it is none the worse for that. For reference, Tuffel, Schwab, and War, History of Roman Literature, Volume 2, page 78. F. F. Haskins, Lucani Pharsalia, London, 1889. Meter, dactylic hexameter, B. 368, A. and G. 616. 2, 4. Dies placuit, that Caesar had the strongest battalions proves that heaven was on his side. 3. Cato, proceeding by land from the neighborhood of Cyrene toward Numidia, and coming to the temple of Jupiter Ammon, geographically misplaced by Lucan, is advised by Labienus to consult the god concerning the outcome of the war and the nature of virtue. The selection gives his reply. 1. Ment Gearbat of Seneca, Epistula 4. 1241. 1. 2. God is near you, is with you, is within you. I have this to say, Lucilius, a sacred spirit has his abode within us. 3. Labiene, Caesar's former second-in-command, who went over to Pompey's side at the beginning of the civil war, and was finally slain at Munda. 5. Et even. 6. 7. Fortuna perdat minus, whether fortune threatens vainly. 8. Et honestum, and whether the right never grows more right by success. 10. Heremus ff, we are in constant intercourse with heaven. Haskins. 11. Spont Dei, by the inspiration of God. Haskins. 12:13. Dixit, licit, the inner light of conscience. Octor, the Creator. 15-17. These lines suggested the passage in Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey. I have felt a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean, and the living air, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. Virtus, Grotius quotes Hierocles, God hath not upon earth a place more truly his than the pure heart, and the Pythian oracle. I joy in reverent mortals even as in Olympus. Superos, ultra, why further do we seek the gods? Iopater, moveris, all that you see, and all your feelings, that is Jupiter. Haskins. Cf. Seneca, de Beneficiis 4. 8. Quocumti flexoris, ibi ilium vidibis occurrentum tibi, nihil ab illo vacat, opus sum ipsi implet. 22. Servata fide, true to his word. 23. Populus, dative, to the multitude, i.e. of Orientals waiting to consult the oracle. 4. 10. Fortuna fut, i.e. was due to fortune rather than to virtue. Fortuna is predicate nominative. 14. Quam, Jugurthi, i.e. than to win the victories of Marius. 5. This noble portrait is that of an ideal Stoic. Roman life had been deeply imbued with this philosophy, which had passed beyond the limits of the schools to become at once a religious creed and a practical code of morals for everyday use. See Mackail, Latin Literature, page 171. 2. Servar, tenera, to hold fast the mean, to observe the due limit. These and the following phrases are Stoic formulae. 4. Cf. Seneca, Epistula 95, 15.3. 52-53, where he says we are members of a great body. Let this line be both in our hearts and on our lips. Human I am, and every human interest is mine. See the entire passage. 12. Sibi nata selfish. 8. Statius. 40-95 AD. Statius, whose father before him was a poet, was born at Naples. His works consist of the Thebais, an epic in imitation of the Aeneid and having for its subject the story of the seven against Thebes. The Achilleus, intended to celebrate the deeds of Achilles, but never completed, and the Silvae, a collection of 31 miscellaneous poems, of which our selection is one. For reference, Fr. Vollmer, Sylvie, Leipzig, 1898. Meter, dactylic hexameter, B. 368, A. Ng, 615. 1. Placidocime divum, cf. Statius, Thebes, 10. 126, 127, Mitocime divum, Somni, Ovid, 11. 623-625-. Somni, quis rerum, placidocime somni deorum, paxinimi, quem cura fugit, concorda diurnus fessa ministerius mulsus reparasque labori. And Shakespeare, Macbeth, 2. 37 ff. Sleep that knits up the revelled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, sore labor's bath, chief nourisher in life's feast. 4. Simulant somnos, rounded treetops take the semblance of tired sleep. Cacumena might mean mountain tops, but the parallelism of the passage with Aeneid, 4. 522 to 528 favors the interpretation as treetops. The trees, their rounded outline no longer broken by the winds, seem to sleep as if exhausted by their tossing. 6. Terrace, Adclinata, we are reminded of those Elgin marbles which represent Thalassa, the personified sea, as resting in the lap of Gaea, the personified land. Cf. with lines 3 to 7 Goethe, Wanderer's Nachtlied, 1 to 6, Über allen Gipfeln in allen Wipfeln spürst du kaum einen Hauch, die Vogelein schweigen im Wald. 7. Septima, Phoebe, the seventh moonlit night. 8-9. Totidem, lampades, a second expression of the thought that it is the seventh night since he has slept. Iti Paphiek, the planet Venus is called Etian since poetical tradition pictures it as shining from above Ada, a mountain of Thessaly, and Paphian because the goddess Venus, whose star it is, was worshipped with a special devotion at Paphos in Cyprus. Lampades, each nightly appearance of the star is poetically thought of as the kindling of a new torch. Tithonia, Aurora, the dawn, wife of Tithonus, to whom she had been able to give immortality, but not eternal youth. She is thought of as sprinkling the dew from the lash with which she drives her chariot team. 13. Argus, Io's thousand-eyed custodian, who was Caesar, devoted to death, since he was doomed to be slain by Hermes, her liberator. 18. Leviter, Transai, pass lightly hovering above me. Wordsworth's 3 sonnets to sleep should all be compared. The best is as follows. A flock of sheep that leisurely pass by, one after one, the sound of rain and bees murmuring, the fall of rivers, winds, and seas, smooth fields, white sheets of water and pure sky, I have thought of all by turns and still do lie sleepless. And soon the small birds' melodies must hear, first uttered from my orchard trees, and the first cuckoo's melancholy cry. Even thus last night and 2 nights more I lay, and could not win thee, sleep, by any stealth, so do not let me wear tonight away, without thee what is all the morning's wealth? Come, blessed barrier between day and day, dear mother of fresh thoughts and joyous health. 9. Martial. 43 to 104 AD. He was a man of genius, of quick intelligence and vivacity, with a great deal of wit and pungency in his writings, and at the same time great candor. Pliny, Epistula 3. 21, Seller's translation. Martial was born at Bilbailis in Spain. At 23 years of age he came to Rome, where he resided for 35 years in limited circumstances, returning to his birthplace 3 years before his death. He composed 14 books of epigrams. As a man he was social and popular. As a writer he was eminently sincere, except when playing the courtier, natural, and witty. He had no equal among the poets of his time as a lifelike painter of the actual world of his day. For reference, Seller and Ramsay, Extracts from Martial, Edinburgh, 1884, Introduction, Tuffel, Schwab, and War, History of Roman Literature, Volume 2, page 121 ff. Friedlander, Martialis Epigrammaton Libri, Leipzig 1886, Paley and Stone, Select Epigrams from Martial, London, 1881. Meters, Choliambic A. and G. 618 A. B. C. Selections 4, 12. Phalician A. and G. 623, 624,625. 11. Selections 1, 5, 7, 11. Elegiac B. 369, 1, 2, A, and G. 616. Selections 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 13. 1, 5. 2. The attorney who is conducting Marshall's case. 6. Periuria FF. To a Roman, the name of Carthaginian, Punicus, was a synonym for treachery. 7. Mucius, when captured in an attempt to assassinate King Porsenna, showed his insensibility to threats by voluntarily holding his hand in the flame of an altar. Livy 2. 12. The plurals in this line may be rendered by Sullas, Marius's, etc. 4. Bassuses met at various points on the Appian Way farther and farther out from Rome. 1. Plut, because of the leaky aqueduct above. 2. Phrygium, Ferrum, the priests of Cybele washed their knives in the Aumil, a branch of the Tiber near Combe. 3. Horatiorum, Campus, the traditional scene of the combat between the Horatii and Curiatii. 4. Pusili, the statue is small. Fervit, is alive with worshippers. 10. Coronam, hoop. 12. Nondum victifaba, too young yet to crunch the bean. 15. Immo, no indeed. 5. 2. Said Fenestra, window gardens were common in Rome. 4. Nemus Diani, i.e., a forest of big timber. 7. Corona, not understood. 16. Sus Caledonius, the type of a huge and ferocious wild animal. 17. Undu prognes, the talon of progny, i.e., of the swallow. For Miss C. Harper's Classical Dictionary, Tyrus. 20. Et. Piccata, a nut will take the place of the pitchbedog dolium. 22, 23. Predium, prandium, lands, a lunch. 6. To a friend who has long been saying that tomorrow he will change it all and really live. 4. In the Orient, the region of the sunrise is where that happy tomorrow is hiding, if anywhere. 5. These two are types of longevity. 7. 4. Focus prenus, a kitchen fire never idle. 5. Toga rara, a dress suit seldom. The toga was connected with burdensome duties, as with the service of client to patron. 6. Vires ingenui, a gentleman's measure of strength. 10. Taurus, wife. 12. Quod, malice, Marshall's principle in life, to be yourself and not strive to be somebody else. 8. The eruption is that of 79 AD, which destroyed Herculaneum and Pompeii. Epistles 6. 16 and 6. 20 of the younger Pliny, and the final chapters of Bulwer-Lytton's Last Days of Pompeii may be read in this connection. 1. Modo, but now. 2. Presserat Lacus, had filled the vats. 3. Nice, a mountain in India where, according to the myth, Bacchus was born. 5. Venericets, Venus was the protecting deity of Pompeii. 6. Herculaneum was named from and protected by Hercules. 7. Mursa Favila, Pliny, writing of the eruption, says, Epistula 6. 20. 18. Everything was covered with deep ashes as with snow. 8. Nec, Sibi, and the gods could wish they had not been permitted this. 9. When Brutus, the slayer of Caesar, committed suicide after the defeat at Philippi, his wife Portia also took her own life. The common story was that her friends, suspecting her design, removed all weapons out of her way, and that she thereupon destroyed herself by swallowing live coals. The real fact may have been that she suffocated herself by the vapor of a charcoal stove, a common method of suicide with the Romans. 4. Fadus, by his death. Patrem, Cato the Younger, who slew himself at Utica after the disastrous battle at Thapsus. 6. Ferrum, emphatic. 10. 1. Arria, the wife of Caecina Paetus. In 42 AD, on the charge of conspiracy against the government, Paetus was ordered by the Emperor Claudius to put an end to his own life. When he hesitated, Arria stabbed herself and handed him the dagger, saying, Pate, non dalit. Pliny, Epistula 3. 16. 6 says of her conduct on another occasion when, fearing the effect of the news on her husband, then dangerously ill, she concealed from him the death of their son. Glorious indeed that act of hers, to bear the steel, to thrust her bosom through, to draw the dagger forth, to hand it to her husband, to add words immortal and almost divine, Pietas, I feel no pain, but doing this and saying this, glory and eternal fame were in her thought. How much greater is it, without the prize of fame, without the prize of glory, to hide the tears, conceal the grief, and, bereaved of a son, still to act the mother. For, said Dowlett, it is your wound that will give me pain. 11. 1. Flaminium, sc. viam. 2. Nali, marmor, the roads leading out from Rome were lined with tombs. 3. Sales K. Nili, Paris appears to have been an Egyptian. 6. Omnia veneers Cupidinesque, imitation of Catullus. 3. 1. Selection 3. 1. 7. Paris, a popular Roman actor, put to death by Domitian. 12. This and the following selection are in memory of a child whose parents were slaves on Martial's estate. 1. Cenobus Cygnus, swans sing sweetest when they die. Notice that all the objects with which erosion is compared in lines 1 to 6 are white. Martial is thinking of the whiteness of her complexion, a quality admired by the Romans. 2. The Tarentine wool was highly prized. 4. Lepillo's pearls. 5. Dentem, tusk. 7. Beatus aegraegus, the flocks on the Guadalquivir whose wool was naturally of a yellowish color. 8. Renique nodos, the hair of the Germans gathered into a club. Erosion's hair was the light flaxen of the Teutonic type. 9. Pesti, a city in Lucania, celebrated for its twice-blowing roses, Virgil, Georgix, for 119, Biferi rosaria pesti. 10. Adcarum cerarum, Attica, and particularly Mt. Hymettus, was famous for its honey. 11. Martial several times refers to the agreeable odor of amber when warmed by holding or rubbing with the hand. 13. Sciurus, derived from Greek skia, and Greek, aura, lit. The shadowtail. Our word squirrel comes through the late Latin diminutive forms, scuriolus, squirrelus, squirelus. 19. Parator, in like manner with myself. 20. Vernili, contrasted with nobilum of line 22. 23. Quid esse fortius potus, can any one display more fortitude? 24. Ducentes, lit. 20,000,000 sesterces, here of indefinite value. 13. Martial at the tomb which has just received Erosion's ashes appeals to his dead parents to keep the child from fear at sight of the black spectres and monstrous Cerberus. 2. Oscula, in apposition to Puellum. 5. Modo, just. In 6 days she would have been 6 years old. 7. Patronos, protectors, i.e. Fronto and Flaccilla. 9. 10. Nec, Furus, sit tibi terra levis, of 10 found as s. T. L. is a phrase common upon Roman tombstones. In another epigram, 1061, a translation of which by Leigh Hunt follows, the poet, about to depart finally from the estate where Erosion is buried, thus beautifully commends to his successors the care of her tomb. Underneath this greedy stone lies little sweet Erosion, whom the fates, with hearts as cold, nipped away at 6 years old. Thou, whoever thou mayest be, that hast this small field after me, let the yearly rites be paid to her little slender shade, so shall no disease or jar hurt thy house or chill thy lar, but this tomb be here alone the only melancholy stone. Ex. Juvenal. About 55 to 138 AD. Facund Juvenalis. Martial, 7. 91, 1. Irati Histrionis ex Sol. Seduius Apollinaris, Carmen 9. 273. Quidquidigunt homines votum, timor, ire, voluptas, gaudia, discursus, nostri est farrago libelli. Satira 1. 85 to 86. Facit indignatio versum. Satira 1. 79. Satire appears to have originated in impromptu dramatic performances. It was looked upon by the Romans as a purely native product. Quintilian says of it, 10. 1. 93, Satura cadem tota nostra et. The word seems to be connected with the adjective satyr, the distinctive mark of the earlier satire being fullness and variety. As lank satura is a dish filled with various kinds of fruit, so satire in this earlier sense is a poem which may deal with any subject and employ several measures and languages. With Lucilius, satire, while retaining its dramatic and discursive character, became didactic as well, and thus the word assumed its modern signification. The principal names in the history of Roman satire are Ennius, 239 to 160 BC, Lucilius, 148 to 103 BC, Varro, 116 to 27 BC, Horace, 65 to 8 BC, Persius, 34 to 62 AD, Seneca the Younger, 3 BC, 65 AD, Petronius, flourished about 60 AD, and Juvenal. Juvenal was born at Aquinum in Latium and was the son or foster son of a wealthy freedman. He practiced declamation till middle life, was tribune of the first Dalmatian cohort, was for some reason banished, the story says for verses offensive to an actor who had influence at court, and died while in exile. He was a friend of the poet Martial. We possess 16 of his satires divided into 5 books. Those which are most characteristic portray the vices of Roman society with passionate, unsparing ferocity, and in an extremely highly colored style. In some passages the most prominent quality is wit, which consists chiefly in the exaggerated and strongly contrasted situations. Other passages reach a lofty height of moral earnestness and dignity. For reference, Wright, Juvenal, Boston, 1901, Mayer, Juvenal, London, 1886. Meter, dactylic hexameter, B. 368, A. and G. 615. 1. 1 ff. Praenest, Valsinius, Gabius, Tiberius, country towns at a moderate distance from Rome. Ruinum. The spontaneous collapse of the tenement houses was such a common occurrence that nobody paid attention to it, though it is an event that would fill our newspapers with a thrilling subject for days. There were companies formed for the purpose of propping houses. Lanciani, Ruins and Excavations of Ancient Rome, conclusion, page 563. The entire chapter should be read in connection with this selection. 3. Proni i on a hillside. 4. Urbum, i.e. Rome. Tibicine prop. 5. Libentibus, the falling walls. 6. Villicus, the owner's agent. 8. Incendia, fires were common at Rome. Especially memorable were the great conflagrations in the reigns of Nero, Titus, and Commodus. The temple of Vesta was almost or entirely destroyed 5 times by fire. 10. Eucaligon, your neighbor on the next floor below, called Eucaligon because I am proximates ardet, Virgil, Aeneid, 2, 311. Tabulata tertia, the third or attic story where you live. 11. Trepidator, the cry of fire, is raised. 13. Ultimus artibit, and likewise will get the alarm last. 14. Cadro, any poor man in this situation. Procula minor, too short for Tom Thumb. Procula was probably a dwarf. Ursioli, displayed on the sideboard, or abacus, beneath which was a reclining statuette of the centaur Chiron. 17. Iam, modifies Vetus. 18. Divina Carmina, the Greek books just mentioned. Apicii, a name given by the Greek colonists of southern Italy to the native races. Since these were of inferior refinement, the word came to mean barbarian. It is applied to the mice since they destroy the manuscripts. 20-21. Ultimus cumulus, the last straw. 21. Frusta, a mouthful of food. 23. Asturici, type of a rich man. 24. Differed Vadamonia, puts off the time at which the defendant had given security, Vadamonium, to appear. 26. Ardet, impersonal. 28. Euphronoris, a Greek sculptor of the 4th century BC. Polyclide, a Greek sculptor of the 5th century BC. He made a famous gold and ivory statue of Hera. 29. Ornamenta deorum, stolen from some temple. Roman conquerors and governors, like Napoleon in modern times, freely robbed subject countries of works of art. 30. Foriolos mediamque Minervam, bookcases and a Minerva among them. A bust of Pallas, the goddess of wisdom, is appropriate to a library. 32. Persicus, the same person as Astyarchus. The name is given because of the reputed wealth of the Orient. So our expression nabob originally meant a viceroy in India. Cf. Milton, Paradise Lost 2. 3-4. Where the gorgeous East, with richest hand, showers on her kings barbaric pearl and gold. Orborum lautissimus, richest of childless men. It is on this account that all assist him, hoping eventually to receive a legacy. Astyarchus understands their motive, hence Juvenal's humorous suspicion. 34 Ff of Le Middle. Circensibus. The games consisted of many kinds of entertainment, especially chariot racing. As with the opera today for lovers of music, these games formed one of the chief attractions of life in a great city. Sori, Fabritieri, Frosinone, these are country towns of Latium. 36. Tenebras, a dark hole. 37. Brevis, shallow. 40. Pythagoras, believing that the human soul might pass into one of the lower animals after death, forbade animal food to his disciples. 42. Unius dominum lacerti, i.e. of the small area which would be necessary to furnish food to one lizard. 43. Plurimus eger, many sick men. Eger, though singular, is used for a plural with the adjective of plural signification. Vigilando, the final O is short. 44. Imperfectus, undigested. 45. Ardenti, inflamed. Meritoria, lodgings. 46. Magnes opibus, ablative of price. Martial says 12. 57. For there is no place in Rome for a poor man to sleep. Wagons were not allowed under ordinary circumstances to pass through the streets till the late afternoon, so that the heavy teeming was at night. 47. Arto, the medium width of the principal living streets of Rome was only from 16 to 20 feet. 48. Standas in viscemandre, the mingled noises of the penned-up herd, i.e. the abuse of the drivers and the lowing of the animals. 49. Druso, probably the Emperor Claudius, who was lethargic. Vitulus Marinus, Pliny says, Natural History 9:42, that no animal sleeps more soundly than the seal. 50. Officium, e.g. the duty of attendance on his patron. 53. Clausa fenestra, effected in some instances by drawing the curtains, in others by closing the windows of mica. 55. Unda prior, the human tide, or surging crowd in front. 56. A seer, the chances were that this would be the pole of a litter, as that of the rich man just mentioned. 59. Clavus militis, the soldier's boot was studded with hobnails. 60. Quanto celebrator sportula fumo, in the midst of how great a smoke they throng after the sportula. The sportula is in this instance the food given by the patron to the client in return for his attendance. 61. Convivi, the clients. Culina, a portable kitchen to keep the food warm. 62. Corbulo, type of a strongman, as we might say a Samson. Tacitus, Annals 13. 8. Describes a Roman general of this name as ingens corpori. 65. Longa ff, a long fir tree sways to and fro as its trucks come on. A similar picture of the crowded city streets is found in Horace, Epistulae 2:70. 68. Procubit, once falls over. Saxa ligustica, the marble from Luna on the border between Etruria and Liguria. The Romans knew hundreds of varieties of marble and used them in vast quantities. As Tibullus says, the streets of the city were always obstructed by carts laden with transverine columns and blocks, columns measuring sometimes 1.97 meters in diameter and 17.66 meters in length, like those of Trajan's temple, or blocks weighing sometimes 27 tons. Lanciani, Ruins and Excavations of Ancient Rome, page 524. 71. Obtridum parent more anime, ground to powder, is gone like a breath. 72. Domus, the slaves, pueri, of the client just killed. Even a poor man might have several. 74. Striglibus, To remove perspiration or oil from the body. Gutto oil cruet. 76. Ripa, of the Styx. Cf. for the scene Virgil, Aeneid 6. 298 ff. Novitius, a complete stranger, i.e., never having died before, a grim joke. Juvenal's wit has been called the earliest known instance of American humor. Peck and Arrowsmith, Roman Life, etc. 77. Nec Sperit, he cannot cross the Styx since he has not received the rites of burial. 78. Porrigate, or offer with his mouth. A coin was often put in the mouth of the dead to pay Charon's fee. 80. Spatium, i.e., how high the roofs are. Cicero describes Rome as suspended in the air. Some of the houses were 100 feet in height. 83. Silicum, even the volcanic stone which forms the pavement of the street is broken. 85 ff. Quote patent vigiles fenestri. This may be punningly rendered, as many as there are windows up. Peck and Arrowsmith, Roman Life, etc. 2-9. Sacellus, the shrines of the Lares found in every house. The common offering at them was a pig. 10. Temacula, minced meat. 17. Sardanapali, effeminate and luxurious, the last king of Assyria. When a conspiracy against him was about to succeed, he burned himself with his treasures. Byron has a drama Sardanapalus. 19. Virtutum, Virtuland. 20. Nullum numen abest, the gods are all on the side of the provident. Fortune is no deity, and only we mistaken men think her such. 3-3. Quae lacrimas dedit, i.e., in that she gave us tears. Haec, i.e., sympathy. 4. Ergo, i.e., this gift of tears implies that, etc. 5. Squaloremque rei, persons on trial often appeared in court with unshorn beard, unwashed toga, and other signs of mourning. 6. Circumscriptorum, his dishonest guardian. 7. Puellers capillae, boys wore long hair till they put on the toga virilis. 10-11. Minor igni rogi, minor with the ablative here means too small for. It was unusual to burn the bodies of very young children. Face dignus arcana, i.e., worthy of initiation into the Eleusinian mysteries. On the 5th day of the festival the initiated marched in a torchlight procession from Athens to Eleusis. They must be holy in thought and deed. 13. Mutorum, dumb animals. Venerabile, reverential. 14. Divinorum capax, with a capacity to know God. 16. Sensum ff, a feeling from above, i.e., sympathy. Man with his religious nature, with his power to practice the arts, and his erect posture, is given this also as a crowning mark of distinction from the lower creation. 18. Indulcit, in his goodness gave. 19. 20. Tantum animus, merely life. Animum, a soul. Mutuus adfectus, a feeling of brotherhood. 24. Tutos, protected by. 25. Collata fiducia, confidence due to union. 27. Defendior, archaic form of defendi. 4-1. D. Sc. date or dent. Sign ponderatorium, cf. Marshall, selection 13. 9, 10 and note. 2. Spirantus fragrant. Perpetuum ver, because the urn is always supplied with flowers. 2. Procol, a procolind, a part of the formula used to warn away the unhallowed from sacred rites. Cf. Virgil, Aeneid 6. 258. Procol, o procol este profani. The phrase, accordingly, has attached to it a religious earnestness and solemnity, like in the name of God, away. 3. Pernoctantis parasiti, the contemptible guest who, for a dinner, stays all night, entertaining his host with low songs. 5. Nec contemptuous annos, do not think your child too young to observe and imitate. 11. Hadrian. 76 to 138 AD. Hadrian was of Spanish descent and related to Trajan, whom he succeeded as emperor in 117. His reign, except its closing years, was noteworthy for good legislation, for the construction of magnificent buildings, and for his journeys to every part of the empire. Meter, iambic dime to a catalectic G and L, 757, 765. 1. The emperor is said by Spartianus to have composed this poem upon his deathbed. The diminutives express affection and compassion. 4. Polygula and Rigida refer to animula, the soul being conceived as presenting the appearance of the dead body. Nugula also refers to animula, as disembodied, or, metaphorically speaking, unclothed, cf. 2 Corinthians 5. 3. 4 in Plato, Cratylus, 403b, the soul denuded of the body. Line 5 is equivalent to a fourth adjective, sad. The passage contains an unusual number of words which occur but once, vagula, blandula, nugula, or very rarely, polygula. Pope translates, Ah, fleeting spirit! Wandering fire, that long hast warmed my tender breast, must thou no more this frame inspire? No more a pleasing, cheerful guest? Whither, ah whither art thou flying? To what dark, undiscovered shore? Thou seem'st all trembling, shivering, dying, and wit and humor are no more. At Steele's request that he should write an ode in imitation of Hadrian's poem, but of a cheerful dying spirit Pope composed the hymn. Vital spark of heaven, O why flame? Quit, O quit this mortal frame, trembling, hoping, lingering, flying, O the pain, the bliss of dying, etc. 12. Anonymous. Meter, dactylic hexameter, B. 368, A. NG, 615. 1. Lindy, a city of roads. 2. Ephora, another name for Corinth. 7. Cecropius, Attic. Cecrops was the first king of Athens. Induparabit, Indu is an old form of in. Sacred Latin poetry. The Latin hymns differ from classical poetry in that accent and rhyme prevail instead of syllabic quantity. This is in accordance with the genius of a language which never disregarded accent, and in which rhyme occurs even in its earliest extant literature, as in Ennius Andromacha. Haec omnia vidi inflammari, priamos six vitam evitari, etc. Among the famous authors of Latin hymns are Adam of St. Victor, St. Ambrose, Fortunatus, Robert II, King of France, Bernard of Clairvaux, Bernard of Cluny, and Abelard. Among the greatest of the hymns are the Te Deum, the Veni, Creator Spiritus, the Stabat Mater, the Veni, Sancte Spiritus, the Dies Irae, the Uti Jucundas, the Jesu, Dulcis Memoria, and the Ora Novissima. For reference, Trench, Sacred Latin Poetry, London, 1874, March, Latin Hymns, New York, 1874, Daniel, Thesaurus Hymnologicus, Leipzig, 1841–1856, 5 volumes. Merrill, Latin Hymns, Boston, 1904, Julian, Dictionary of Hymnology, London, 1907. In all see indices of first lines. Anonymous. For Christmas Day. This was till recently a favorite in the Lutheran churches of Germany. Like most of the other hymns in this collection, it has often been translated, as by Schaff in his Christ in Song. The oldest text known is as early as the 14th century. The subject is the birth of Christ. Cf. Matthew 2. 1. Bethlehem, indeclinable, like most proper names of Hebrew origin. 5. 6. The ox and ass were believed to have occupied the stable with Christ on the combined authority of the Septuagint reading of Habakkuk 3. 2. Between two animals shalt thou be known, and of Isaiah 1. 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, quot that. 7. Regis, Isaiah 60. 3. Psalm 72. 10, 15. Saba, Psalm 72. 10, 15. 11. Sine serpentis vulnere, without original sin, cf. Genesis 3. 14, 15, 1 John 3. 5. For Easter Day. This fine sequence was highly esteemed by Luther and became a favorite in many countries. Its composition was as early as the 11th century. At first sight it appears to be prose, but proves on closer examination to be rhymed throughout. The dialogue form made possible its dramatic use in the Easter mystery plays and the church service. For this and for translation see Julian, page 1223 ff. The subject is the resurrection. cf. Matthew 28. 1-15, John 20. 1-18. 2. Agnes, John 1. 29. O's, John 10. 11-3. Regnant, Matthew 25. 34. 4-9. Dick Ff. The conversation supposed to have taken place between Mary Magdalene and the disciples after her return from the sepulchre. Surrexit, Luke 24. 34. Plaudite Caeli. This hymn was composed by a member of the Jesuit order. Its date is of the 14th to the 16th century, its subject the resurrection. 1. Plaudite, cf. Flumina plaudent manu, Psalms 97. 8. All the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Isaiah 55. 12. 2. Ether, the upper air. 3-4. Let the heights and the depths of the world rejoice. 5-6. The black storm rack has passed by. 7. Almi, bountiful. 11-12. Pictis, Campis, cf. daisies, do paint the meadows. Love's labor's lost, v. 2. 905. 17-18. Full veins are metaphorical for the full strong flow of song. 20. Barbatha, bad spelling for Barbita, lutes. 26. Luddite, flow merrily. The hymn has been translated into English by Mrs. Charles, Christian Life and Song, page 184, and by Duffield, Latin Hymns, page 398. The latter thus renders LL 9-24. Spring breezes are blowing, spring flowers are at hand, spring grasses are growing abroad in the land. And violets brighten the roses in bloom, and marigolds heighten the lilies' perfume. Rise then, O my praises, fresh life in your veins, as the viol upraises the gladdest of strains, for once more he sees us, alive, as he said, our holy Lord Jesus escaped from the dead. Pon luctum, Magdalena. The subject is the appearance of the risen Christ to Mary Magdalene at the tomb, John 20. 11-18. 1. Pon dismiss thy grief. 3. Simonis, Mary Magdalene, as in Dies Irae, 37, is identified with the woman which was a sinner of Luke 7. 37-50, who, while Jesus sat at meal in the house of Simon, the Pharisee, weeping, began to wet his feet with her tears. 1. 4. 22-23. Lift thy face, O Magdalene. Behold the risen Christ. 25. Quinqueplagas. The 5 strokes are the nail prints in Jesus' hands and feet and the spear wound in his side. Luke 24. 40. John 20. 24-29. In spice, as Thomas and the other disciples beheld. Translation by Mrs. Charles, Christian Life and Song, page 182. Bernard of Clairvaux. 1091-1153 AD Salve, Caput Cruentatum. This selection is taken from a hymn in 7 parts, each addressing some member of Christ's body on the cross, the feet, the knees, etc. The composition is more probably by some German poet than by Bernard, but its supposed origin with the latter has become a subject of religious legend. One ancient copy describes the hymn as a divine and most devout prayer of the abbot St. Bernard, which he made when an image of the Savior with outstretched arms embraced him from the cross. Again we read, the image on the cross bowed itself and embraced him with its wounded arms as a sure token that to it this prayer was most pleasing. Julian refers to 8 English metrical versions. One of the finest forms in which it has come into the language through P. Gerhardt's free German version O Hauptwahl und Wunden, is O Sacred Head, now wounded. 3. Conquasitum, mangled. 7. Immutatus, his visage was so marred more than any man. Isaiah 52. 14. 10. All heaven shudders. The Curia is the center of government. 11. Vire, late Latin for viriditas, vigor, we might freely render brightness. 14. Expressing the extremity of weakness, hanging all in faintness. 19. Intersigno, proof, late Latin. 23-25. From whose mouth I have taken honey with the sweetness of milk, beyond all delights. A figurative use of the story of Samson, who found a honeycomb in the mouth of the carcass of the lion which he had slain, Judges 14. 8-9. Milk is religiously associated with honey because of the description of Canaan in Deuteronomy 31. 20. Terram lact et melminantem. 28-30. Now that death is near thee, lay here thine head, rest in my arms. 32. Gauderum, I would rejoice, were I associated with thy holy passion, present contrary to fact condition. 40. Absci, without, anti and post-classic preposition. 46. Emigrare, depart from life. Cf. que vita emigravit, Cicero, De Legibus 2. 48, 49. Tematipsum, thine own self. An emphatic met is suffixed to t. Jesus, the very thought of thee. The author is probably St. Bernard, the abbot of Clairvaux and the great preacher of the Second Crusade. Few men in Christendom have ever exercised a personal influence equal to his. These quatrains are selected from a hymn composed of 50 such, and familiar to English-speaking Christians from Caswall's translation, Jesus, the very thought of thee, and Ray Palmer's Jesus, thou joy of loving hearts. It was a favorite of Livingstone, who quotes from it in his African diary. No other poem in any language, says Julian, has furnished to English and American hymn books so many hymns of sterling worth and well-deserved popularity. Subject Jesus. 1-4, Jesu vocative. We would expect das instead of dawn, and tui instead of ius. Supply est with presentia. 13-16. Thou bliss of souls in bitter need, water to lip and light to eye, all joy thou dost how far exceed, all yearning more than satisfy. Robert II, King of France. 971103180. Come, Holy Spirit, from above. Robert, the son of Hugh Capet, to whom this hymn is commonly, but probably incorrectly, ascribed, became King of France in 988 AD. He was a kindly, easy man, endowed with all the charming and dangerous virtues which commend themselves in the man and often prove fatal to the king. His reign was a constant struggle, first with the church for his wife, afterwards with his barons for his existence. Encyclopaedia Britannica, Volume 9, page 536. This hymn was in the Middle Ages often called the Golden Sequence. Clicktivius, Elicitatorium, Paris, 1516, f. 171, declares it above all praise, whether by reason of its wonderful sweetness, or of its brevity along with wealth of ideas, or of the elegant grace of its structure. Trench, Sacred Latin Poetry, says it could only have been composed by one who had been acquainted with many sorrows and also with many consolations. Julian refers to 38 renderings into English. One of the best of these is A. P. Stanley's version, Come, Holy Spirit, from above. The subject is an entreaty to the Spirit to come and to bestow his gifts. To the former thought belong the earlier stanzas, to the second thought the latter stanzas. At the beginning of the poem Veni, emphasizing the former thought, is in its position and repetition like de at the close, emphasizing the latter. 3. Lucas, cf. Lumen Cordium 1, 6, Lux Beatissima 1.13. The Spirit, as the guide into all truth, is naturally addressed as light and the giver of light. 7. Consolator, John 14. 16, 9. Refrigerium, refreshment. May God refresh thy spirit is a phrase not uncommon in Christian epitaphs of the catacombs. 7-12. Stanley renders. O thou, of comforters the best, O thou, the soul's most welcome guest, O thou, our sweet repose, our resting place from life's long care, our shadow from the world's fierce glare, our solace in all woes. 19-20. Lava Riga, John 3. 5. Isaiah 44. 3:27. Septenarium, the sevenfold gift. The Spirit is septiformis munera, the seven gifts being the spirit of wisdom, of understanding, of counsel, of might, of knowledge, of piety, and of the fear of the Lord. Isaiah 11. 2-3. Anonymous. Phoenix inter flammis expirans. The suggestion of this beautiful poem is from Canticles. The date of composition is the 17th century. The subject is the soul's desire to depart and to be with Christ. The 2nd to the 5th stanzas take their form from the legend of the phoenix, a fabulous bird which was said to build its funeral pyre, to burn itself, singing a death song, and to rise from its ashes in renewed youth. The soul, passing from this life to immortality, conceives itself as a phoenix consuming in the flames and singing a death song, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th stanzas. 3. Idram, Canticles 2. 5, 4. Delecto, Christ in heaven. Cf. Canticles 2. 3, 27-30. The flame leaping toward the sky is a type of the soul and its eagerness to ascend to heaven. Cf. Rivers to the ocean run nor stay in all their course, fire ascending seeks the sun, both speed them to their source. So the soul that's born of God pants to view his glorious face, upward tends to his abode to rest in his embrace. Seagrave. Thomas a Celano. Dies Irae. Thomas, called a Celano from a small town in central Italy, was a Franciscan monk who lived in the 13th century and was custos of certain convents of his order on the Rhine. His authorship of this hymn is probable, not certain. For the literature see Julian, page 294. In the ritual the Dies Irae is used for All Souls' Day and for Requiem Masses. The most famous musical setting is by Mozart. Daniel says of this hymn, each word is a peal of thunder. Trench says the triple rhyme has been likened to blow following blow of the hammer on the anvil. Goethe introduces the Dies Irae into a scene of the first part of Faust. The remorse of Gretchen becomes overwhelming as she hears the hymn pealing through the cathedral, the culmination corning with the repetition of the words Quid sum miser tunc, dicturus? Sir Walter Scott thus quotes and summarizes at the end of the lay of the last minstrel. Far the echoing hours prolong the awful burthen of the song, Dies Irae, Dies illa, solet seclum in favela, thus the Holy Fathers sung. Hymn for the Dead. That day of wrath, that dreadful day, when heaven and earth shall pass away, what power shall be the sinner's stay? How shall he meet that dreadful day? When, shriveling like a parched scroll, the naming heavens together roll, when louder yet, and yet more dread, swells the high trump that wakes the dead. Oh! On that day, that wrathful day, when man to judgment wakes from clay, be thou the trembling sinner's stay, though heaven and earth shall pass away. The same poet was heard to quote portions of the hymn on his deathbed, and the last words of the Earl of Roscommon, author of one of the well-known versions, were a rendering of line 51. My God, my Father, and my friend, do not forsake me in my end. Hundreds of metrical translations of this hymn exist. A good selection will be found in _7 great hymns. 1. Dies Irae, Dies illa, Dies tribulationis et angustiae, Dies calamitatis et miserii, etc., Zephaniah 1. 16. Cf. Dies Magnus Irae, Revelation 6. 17. 2. Shall lay the world in glowing ashes. Cf. 2 Peter 3. 10-12, especially the elements shall melt with fervent heat. 3. Test David cum Sibylla, Jew and Gentile both testify that the day of judgment shall come. As Virgil in his 4th Eclogue was believed to have foretold Christ, so the Sibyl was thought to have prophesied the day of judgment. This was due to the still extant Sibylline oracles, a collection of 12 books in Greek hexameters supposed to have emanated from the Sibyl, but really pretended prophecies composed in the interest of their respective religions, partly by Alexandrian Jews, partly by Christians. For the witness of David see Psalms 11. 5, 6, 96. 13, 97. 2, 3. Cf. Trench, pages 303, 304. Test David as ablative absolute. 6. Discussurus, investigate, a meaning not classic in the literary language. 7. Tuba, the trumpet shall sound and the dead shall be raised. 1 Corinthians 15. 52. Cf. 1 Thessalonians 4. 16, 11. Creatura, every creature. 13. Liber Scriptus, Daniel 1. 10. Revelation 20. 12, 16. Matthew 25. 31, 17. Luke 12. 2, 20. Patronum, Advocate, 1 John 2. 1, 21. Vix Iestis, if the righteous is scarcely saved. 1 Peter 4. 18, 22-24. King of awful majesty, saving sinners graciously, fount of mercy, save thou me. 23. Gratis, freely, Revelation 21. 6, 28-30. Dr. Johnson frequently quoted this stanza with tears. 28. Jesus, being wearied with his journey, sat thus by the well. John 4. 6, 33. After a long time the Lord of those servants cometh, and mocketh a reckoning with them. Matthew 25. 19, 37. The writer identifies Mary Magdalene with the woman which was a sinner to whom Jesus said, Thy sins are forgiven thee. 38. Latronym, the penitent thief, Luke 23. 39 ff 43-48. Matthew 25. 31 ff 49. Aquinas, bowing before thee. 50. A heart bruised even as ashes. The literal meaning of contritum, separated into small pieces, is strongly in mind. Cf. Cor contritum, Psalms 51. 17. Cor is in apposition with the subject of oro. 52-57. These lines adapt the hymn to the service. 56, 57. Note the wonderful sweetness of these lines, like calm after storm. Bernard of Cluny. De Patri Caelestis Laudi. This writer, born in Brittany of English parents and a contemporary of St. Bernard, was a monk in the monastery of Cluny under Peter the Venerable. The verses here given form the opening of his De Contemptu Mundi, a bitter satire about 3,000 lines long upon the corruptions of the time. The passage is described by Neil as the most lovely of medieval poems. The meter is dactylic hexameter with the leonine entailed rhyme, each line being broken up into 3 parts. This measure is so difficult that the composer was enabled to master it only, as he believed, by a special inspiration, but 2 translators into English, Moultrie and Duffield, have attempted to reproduce it, as Here we have many fears, this is the vale of tears, the land of sorrow. Tears are there none at all, in that celestial hall, on life's bright morrow. The great English rendering is by Neil in his rhythm of Bernard de Morlake's On the Celestial Country. From this many favorite hymns have been drawn. The subject is the speedy coming of Christ to judge the world and the joys and glories of the New Jerusalem. Cf. Revelation 21 and 22. 3. Terminet, subjunctive of wish. 8. Homo Deus, the God-man, i.e. Christ. 10. Non breve vivere, subject of retributor. 17. Shaun, the church. Babylon, the world. Cf. such passages as Revelation 16. 19. Sobria, sober and implied the watchful. Cf. 1 Thessalonians 5. 6. 24-29. With jasper glow thy bulwarks, thy streets with emerald blaze, the sardius and the topaz unite in thee their rays. Thine ageless walls are bonded with amethyst unpriced, thy saints build up its fabric, and the cornerstone is Christ. The cross is all thy splendor, the crucified thy praise, his laud and benediction thy ransomed people raise. Thou hast no shore, fair ocean, thou hast no time, bright day, dear fountain of refreshment to pilgrims far away. Neil. 26. The heavenly throng compose thy fabric, and Christ is thy precious stone, i.e., each believer is a stone built into the structure of the heavenly city of which Christ, the living stone, elect and precious, is the foundation. Cf. 1 Peter 2. 3-6, 29. Thou without shore, i.e. unbounded in extent, thou without time, i.e. never ceasing to flow, fountain that art soon a stream. 34. Beneath thy contemplations sink heart and voice oppressed. Neil. 49. Plaud Deus. Exult, O dust and ashes. The Lord shall be thy part. Neil. Hildebert. 1057-1184 AD. The Heavenly City. Hildebert, a contemporary and fellow countryman of the Bernards, became Archbishop of Tours in 1125. His verses number more than 10,000. The selection is taken from his address to the 3 persons of the Holy Trinity. Cf. Revelation 21 and 22. 3. Octolucus, Genesis 1. 3-5. Lapis Vivua, 1 Peter 2. 4-6. 6. Rex Festivus, Matthew 22. 2, 12-14. Revelation 21. 4, 1 John 3. 2, 15-18. CFO Civitas Sancta, Civitas Speciosa, de longinquo te saludo, ad te clamo, te require. Augustine, de Spiritu et Anima. 26. Revelation 21. 24. The following is a portion of Neil's translation, Medieval Hymns, pages 35-36. Mine be Shaun's habitation, Shaun, David's calm foundation, built by him, light's source immortal, to whose streets the cross is portal. In this city, uninvaded peace, spring endless, light unfaded, endless breath of flowers vernal, festal melody eternal. Home, no change nor loss that fearest, from afar my soul thou cheerest, thee it seeketh, thee requireth, thee affecteth, thee desireth. Latin College Latin Series. Odes and Epodes of Horace. Edited by Professor Charles E. Bennett, of Cornell University. 12 mo. Cloth, 464 pages. Price, $1.40. Satires and Epistles of Horace. Edited by Professor John C. Rolfe, of the University of Pennsylvania. 12 mo. Cloth, 458 pages. Price, $1.40. Complete Works of Horace. Edited by Professors Bennett and Rolfe. Printed on Bible paper and bound in flexible covers. 12 mo. Cloth, 922 pages. Price, $2. In these volumes each poem is preceded by a careful analysis, giving in a line or two all necessary information regarding the subject, date, and meter. The comprehensive introduction to the Odes and Epodes has sections devoted to Horace's life and works, manuscripts, scholia, and editions, classification of the Odes and Epodes, language, treating the poet's most striking deviations from standard prose usage, the meters. The introduction to the satires and epistles is equally exhaustive, and treats of the life and works of Horace, the development of the Roman satire, the dramatic and literary satire, the schools of Ennius and Lucilius, general characteristics of the satires, the style of the satires, colloquial language of the satires, the meters. In both volumes the commentary is eminently judicious, telling the student all he needs to know, but never more than he will understand and appreciate. The two volumes, printed on Bible paper and bound together in flexible covers, form the most attractive and convenient edition of the complete works of Horace. Topography and Monuments of Ancient Rome. By Professor S. B. Plattner, Western Reserve University. 8 vo. Cloth, 528 pages. 9 maps and plans and 95 illustrations. Price, $3. This book is intended to serve as an introduction to the study of the topography of ancient Rome for students of Roman antiquities and history, and incidentally as a book of reference for those who have any special interest in the monuments which still remain. It contains an outline of the successive stages in the growth of the city, a discussion of the topography of each region, and the position of its buildings so far as this is known, and a detailed description of the more important structures. To facilitate further study, references of two classes have been added: first, to the sources of information in ancient literature and inscriptions, and second, to the most important material in current periodicals and the standard works on topography. The volume contains 5 double-page and 4 single-page maps, nearly all of which are colored. There are 95 illustrations, many reproduced from photographs. There are chapters devoted to each of the hills of Rome, to the Tiber and its bridges, the Forum, the Campus Martius, aqueducts and sewers, walls, gates and roads, the Sacra Via, and to the Transtiberine region. Chapters are also devoted to building materials and methods, and the history of the development of the city. Handbook of Latin Inscriptions. By W. M. Lindsay, M.A., Fellow of Jesus College, Oxford. 16 mo. Cloth, 134 pages. Price, $1.25. The author states very clearly some of the principles of form changes in Latin, and gives a collection of inscriptions by way of illustration. These are 58 in number and extend from the earliest period down to Imperial and Late Latin. End of Project Gutenberg's Readings from Latin Verse, by Curtis C. Bushnell.